Kingsley to turn up. I can't get through to him. So, in the meantime, what we're going to talk about Mercedes. Start that over again. The W14 is a disaster. Let's throw it in the bin and bring back the W13. What say you? Should we have a vote? 13 or 14? Pick one. All right, bossing it. Since Kingsley not here yet, jump in so we can have our conversation because I can't talk by myself. Let me send you an invite so you can jump in. Oh God, I need some people. I need people to talk to. My sidekick Kingsley is not around. Let's discuss testing. All right, cool. What's happening? You're in. What's happening, man? You good?
Can you
Yeah,
hear
I
me?
can hear you.
Oh,
Can you hear me? Drop out and let me remove you and then.
can you
Yeah, I
hear
can
me?
hear you. Can you hear me?
All right. Yeah.
All right. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your panic? Where are you on the panic scale?
Listen, I'm not panicked at all, but I have to say that Red Bull is legal.
Huh?
That Red Bull is legal.
Is
It's not
illegal?
don't illegal. Yeah, bro. Have you seen? I don't know, man. It just looks like a beast out there.
Hey,
Like
that's what happens when you
it
break
don't.
the cost cap. You know, you get
It
an
just
advantage.
bro. It doesn't matter, bro. Max, he could be chilling, trying, but he just be just the car responds. Everyone struggles at I think turn 6.
Hmm.
Is it? But he just seems to just I don't know, man. But I'm not. Listen, I'm not gonna panic. It's better to have problems now than next week.
Yeah, but
He said it's a hydraulic failure, is it
yeah,
or
they
something
say it
like
was
that?
a hydraulic failure. But I mean, what problems have they really had? Because
Well, when I say problems, it's not a problem. It just happens in it.
yeah, because
Nothing to do
in
about that.
truth, I mean, I understand everyone's expectation for this year after what happened last year, but you have to temper your expectation in the sense that where they're basically a season, half a season behind everybody else. They have to, they can't just. They have to make sure the W14 actually works.
True.
It's a stable platform from which you can then work from. It's not going great. It doesn't look. I mean, the biggest problem it had
Yeah,
last year was a
entry,
porpoise, and
entry.
that seems to
Yeah,
have been resolved. So it's a matter now of okay, time to extract these.
balance could be.
We don't know what they're doing at the moment because if you look at the car, they've been running a rear wing that you'd actually see in Monaco for Christ's sake. I mean, compared to everyone else who's running a medium level sort of rear downforce wing. So what they're actually doing right now, nobody knows. But
Yeah, only they can
but
understand what they're doing.
yeah, but the timeline works. If you're not at the top of the timesheets, then it's
Yeah,
panic stations. Everything's over. I mean, it would have been it would have been naive to even think they'd come into the season immediately from race one be on the same pace as
yeah,
Red Bull and Ferrari because that's just naive. Because you're talking about you don't erase a half a second gap in one winter. That's pretty much impossible.
do you know what I think? I think at the beginning of let's say next week when the quali's in, I think it'll be about like 4 tenths
I don't.
between Red Bull and
Yeah, I
or more, a little bit more.
I don't think they're gonna be on the pace in probably the first two races. I think it's gonna take some time. I think if we get to, I think if we get to somewhere, I don't know, Spain, get to round six. It's similar to last year. If we get to round six and we don't, and they're not actually on the pace or even close to the pace, then you kind of start like, yeah, okay, something's, what I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
what's really going on? You can't have the same season 2 years in a row. It's unfortunate, and I can understand people's frustrations, but people need to temper the frustrations and realize that at the end of the
Yeah,
day,
but that Red Bull,
this is
man.
sports. I mean, look, this is sports. You can't win forever. and it took Red Bull 8 years to get to where they are now. We had 8 years
I
of
feel
We
like
don't
success.
have 8 years.
Huh?
we don't have 8 years
No,
I
left.
said we do not have
no,
8 years left with
I
Lewis.
get that. I get we don't have 8 years left with Lewis, but if he doesn't win again, he doesn't win. That's the name of the game. It's an unfortunate set of circumstances, but that's the nature of the business he's in. You're not guaranteed you're always going to win. I mean, he doesn't have ownership over winning. You're gonna win, you're gonna lose. They're having.
Yeah, he'll do his best though. He'll do his
I
best.
mean,
Definitely.
it was going to come to an end at some point. They weren't going to keep winning forever. It was always going to come to an end. The unfortunate thing is, it's how it came to an end. I think that's and piggybacking off what happened in 2021, coming over into this.
Yeah,
It's that I think that's where the frustration more lies.
it hurts more.
It hurt. Exactly. That's why it hurts more because we were robbed. He was robbed of something, and then to come into the following season and not being able
Have
to
a dog walk. To fight,
to do anything, you're just like, that's the frustration. I think that's where most of the frustration tends to come from, and I understand it.
To be honest, I think we're going to be on the podium with both of our drivers in Bahrain for the first race. That's how much I believe in this team. I feel like something's going to happen. Whether it's luck or actual pace, we're going to be both on the podium.
I think, look, I've got the absolute faith in the team because, like I've always said, you don't win a championship by being idiots, and you don't win a championship over 3 different regulation changes by not knowing what you're doing. They made some mistakes. They now have to dig themselves out of that hole to get back to where they were, and I think they will. How the question is how long? That's and the answer to that is how long is a piece of string. That's what
I think we can.
It comes down to.
I think we can challenge Ferrari. That's a fact. I think we can.
I don't know.
That's what
I don't know. I don't know.
But they look good though. They look very good.
You look at the pecking order right now. It's the same as it was last year. Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, and then whoever follows behind.
It's just what the gap is. We'll know by next week.
Yeah, because I saw the Mike Elliott quote that everyone's going crazy about, where he said, they think they're maybe 4 to 6 tenths off the pace. I'm like, well,
that's not bad. It was like 8. Was it 8, 9
exactly. I mean, it was almost a second at one point last year, and you're chasing a moving target. It's not Red Bull and Ferrari aren't going to stay still, so it's not going to be an easy thing to get claw back. But you've seen that, with Mercedes development record, they can claw back gaps because they went from the seat. Look what they did last year to how they ended the season. They gained performance. They clawed back some of that deficit to the front too. They were, so now with a more stable platform, like we said, Toto said, the car is not porpoising anymore. That's pretty much been resolved. So it's now about, okay, you have a stable base. You've built a foundation. Now it's about adding performance. We've seen reports that they already have a upgrade package in the wind tunnel, which apparently it's due for the European run, but it could be in Bahrain next week, which I think definitely will, because there's no way they're going to run a Grand Prix next week with that rear wing, because that's just not going to work for them. It's just because that's not the sort of rear wing you use at this sort of track. So I expect to see some more upgrades coming, but we just have to wait until they put on another upgrade package on the car and see how that transforms their fortune. But I still think by mid-season, they're going to be in the running for race wins, and I think it's going to be on merit, not based on luck.
Well, we just have to hope Charles does his thing. Take points off.
Look,
we have to hope that Charles take points off Max.
We're trying to. you can't put your faith in Ferrari, dude. That's you stand a bit. I'd have more faith in Pastor Maldonado than Ferrari right now. That's so bad. That's how much I think about Ferrari. I don't. They look good now. It's what they've always done. They look good at the
And Red
beginning,
Bull knows that as well.
and then Jesus, even before the season started, Helmut Marko they basically disregard Ferrari and said, they're more concerned about Mercedes. Like, how are you more concerned about a team that you beat by nearly 300 points in the constructors, as opposed to the team that finished the closest to you? So it tells you what they really think of Ferrari. They don't feel that they're that serious of a threat. And in some ways, I kind of agree with them because, again, it's just Ferrari. They're going to find some way of screwing up. It's just going to happen.
Listen, all I know is one thing for sure, right? Once Lewis can feel that this car can win, he'll get there.
Yeah, but
Until then,
it's gonna take work, man. It's not, at the end of the day, it's an engineering sport.
Simple.
It's an engineering sport. So it's going to take them a while to get back to where they were. How, as we've said, it's how long it's going to take.
Did you watch the test? Did you watch the test?
Yeah. I worked from home today, so I was able to watch it, and I had to mute it at some point because I just couldn't stand listening to some of the things they were talking. It was just really frustrating.
I would rather it be on silent, no one talking, just listen to the cars.
I'd rather they could have tried out some different set of announcers. Get rid of.
But Croft is annoying though. Croft is annoying.
It's not even so much Croft is annoying. It's like I just feel like they don't think about things logically when they say it. They just see something immediately, the first reaction to something they say is it's over dramatization of
hyping it up
like, okay, Russell car came to a halt today. Oh, is this a problem from? Like, dude, fucking hell, it's a testing.
I guess it's their job to make it sound good.
Yeah, but
they get paid to do that.
I get that.
Because let's be honest, nobody's that hyped about testing.
Well, you'd be surprised. You sure no one's hyped about testing? Have you not seen?
Not
have you not seen the Team LH? Have you not seen the Team LH Twitter timeline? It's panic stations already. Everybody. I had to tell this chick she was just chatting, and I had to tell her, look, can you just please just fuck off? Eventually, she blocked me, which I was grateful for, because I just can't deal with the oh my god, I'm like, yo, chill out. If he doesn't win, what are you gonna do? Shoot somebody? For fuck. Excuse my French. But come on, man, just chill out. It's not life and death. It's sports. There's far more things in the world to get this angry and frustrated about. You're gonna lose your shit because Lewis and Mercedes aren't competitive. So
I think it will be competitive, but probably not on the. They're very clear off the midfield with the rest. Definitely.
Well, according to some, they're saying Aston Martin, if anything, they've now fallen behind Aston, which I find kind of funny, because if Mercedes,
Alonso was out here trying.
If Mercedes can't close, if they're saying that Mercedes can't close the gap to Red Bull and Ferrari, so they expect Aston Martin, who was much further behind Mercedes than Mercedes were to the front to actually close that gap and leapfrog them within one winter. Come on, man, be sensible. Think about it. What we saw from Alonso, it's the usual stuff you see from him. It's glory runs. Jesus, people are panicking about Mercedes not setting eye-catching lap times, and that means they're really like Jesus, Logan Sargent set a quicker time than both Mercedes drivers. That means the Williams is a better package. Come on, just it's testing.
Williams is dog water, man.
It's testing. The Mercedes has historically never been a team where you've seen them go about showing, okay, this is what we can do. I remember 2021. No, not 2020. The 2020 with the W11. That had so much frigging problems in testing. But then when it came to the race, came to the actual season, it was a different beast. You saw 2014, it was the same. You know what? I wish some of these Lewis fans, I know most of you were around in 2009 when he had to deal with that McLaren. They think this is bad? Shit. 2009 was worse. That man could. It was worse than what we've seen in the last year so far this year. But I don't know. I just can't deal with the. Every time I look on my timeline, it's just panic and people overreacting. That's why I tweet that's why you see me tweet all these shit. Not lately, like yo, bring back the W13, just to piss them off because it's just like yo, chill out, fuck's sake.
Yeah, that W13 was bad in the first preseason.
And this is the W14 is miles better. Clearly,
bro, day and night. Day and
exactly. Night. So just let them do what they have to do. If they don't win this year, they don't win this year. They just have to.
Simple as that.
They just have to go back to the drawing board, and they're gonna have to grind and get back to where they should be. You don't get to the top by them. There's no magic bullet. There's no one magic bullet that they're gonna find that just says, "Yep, boom, there we are. We're back in the game again." That's not gonna happen. So you're gonna have to take the good. We had 8 good years. We had 8 good years. It was always going to come to an end. It came to an end. Now we're trying to start it over again. But I see people berating the team, calling them complacent and all sort of stuff, and I'm like, do you people actually think before you talk or before you tweet? How are you gonna call a team that won 8 championships complacent? Complacent in what manner? It's a game. It's a fresh set of regulations. Somebody was going to get it right, and someone was going to get it wrong.
Russia Toto said they just made a mistake.
Huh?
They just made a mistake. That's it.
And even if they didn't make a mistake, they could have gone down the right. They didn't. Even if they didn't make a mistake, there was still no guarantee they would still be ahead of the team to beat. It's a fresh. Everyone started from a fresh piece of paper. Someone was always going to get it right. Someone was always going to get it wrong. Red Bull got it wrong. This Red Bull had Adrian Newey, and they got it wrong for 8 years. So if he can get it wrong, why can't Mercedes get it wrong?
Well, it's not a perfect world.
But that's the thing. Everyone thinks it's a perfect world whereby everything is supposed to go how they want it. Mercedes should just turn up with a quick car, and Lewis just wins every weekend, win all the championship. That's how it should be like. Don't be an ass. Don't be stupid. But anyway, God, where's Kingsley, man? I'm trying to get Kingsley on, but he's not. I need some more people into the space. Stefan, come in, because we've been dealing with this same thing all day. I need you to give me your input on what you've seen so far in testing. If you're free, if you can't jump in, just show an emoji. Nobody? Stefan can't come in. All right, that's cool. Anybody? Somebody?
Nobody's.
They're such cowards. Nili, Crystal, Tatenda, Sid. All right, Lauren, please, or Becca. Somebody. Oh, who have come in? All right, I've got Sid. You guys are such cowards. Disappointed. Okay. Oh, Lauren. Lauren answered the call. Oh, so now you guys want to,
Sid as well.
because I cuss you out, you want to show up. So that's okay. So the only way I can get you in here is unless I cuss you out. All right, I'm gonna do that more often.
Because you're fighting for your life. So
Yeah, I'm struggling. I'm struggling. That's true. I'm struggling. That's what I was doing. I was trying to find my sidekick Kingsley, but I don't know where he is, man. He's not turning up. I don't know what he's doing. Yeah. Anyway, all right. Come on, people. All right, Sid, Lauren, come on. Give me your opinion. What you guys think so far?
Nah. First thing. Let me ask you. Did you see this
So,
recent?
what's actually the
Uh,
problem this year?
Hold
The
on.
hydraulics now. Should we
did
be
you did
worried
you
Hold on.
did
Hold
you
on.
or?
Hold
see
on.
this recent?
Hold on. One
Did you
second.
see this recent tweet which said that we also suffered with the loss of downforce on the front axle,
Yeah.
and Wolf just said we are a bit lost
Hmm.
as we don't know where we stand right now.
Yeah, I saw
So,
that.
what are your thoughts on that?
Well, they've always been honest, and in some ways, it's kind of concerning because yesterday they seemed perfectly fine, and today, for this to happen today, you have to wonder, okay, what changed overnight? What did they do overnight that could cause this to just happen, despite them saying they were happy with yesterday's overall running?
Yeah, I
Are they
mean,
are they
even in
actually
the
are they
first session,
are they actually now in the process of looking to actually set up the car for performance, or are they still just basically out there doing what they've been doing, data gathering? So that's
I
that's
mean, the
that's a bit
idea, I
concerning.
think the idea would have been to do the performance testing runs tomorrow. Tomorrow is the last day. I haven't seen Mercedes do any of the performance runs. It's all be on race simulations, package testing, setup testing, those kind of runs that I have seen in the 2 days of testing. I haven't seen Lewis or maybe George push for a quali lap or a fastest lap or something like that. Um, I don't know, man. This particular comment coming right now after 2 days of testing, it is a bit worrying. I don't know what's they're thinking right now. I mean, just like you, even I have heard that they have a design ready in the wind tunnel. They might go to that design. We may see it in Bahrain, or we
I
may
don't
not.
think
We
it's
may
a
see it
case
after
of
two,
they
three
might
races.
go to that design. That's just what they've got in the winter. Is just something. It's a development. This in their natural the line of development. It's not something they're like a plan B or a backup sort of thing.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely not. But I heard rumors about us maybe considering changing our side pods. What do you think about that?
And I'm truthfully, I'm tired of hearing talking about side pods. I'm honestly tired of hearing talking about side pods because it's like, how many times are they going to discuss? We're going to discuss the same thing. If the team says the side pod is not the issue, why do we keep talking about side pods?
No,
Even
no.
if the
I
alternate,
mean,
if even if they the next upgrade they bring it, there's a variation in the side pods, doesn't mean that the side pods is the problem.
no. Not that. Toto himself said that maybe during the season, maybe after a few races, or maybe in Bahrain, the W14 may start looking like the other competitors. Obviously, he was
can
indirectly
I just
talking
say
about Ferrari
something?
and Red Bull. So that is where I'm coming to
Can
this.
I say
Go on,
something?
Lauren.
Have you noticed that Toto talks all over his face? He says one thing, he says another. I don't think we should be leaning into Toto because 1 minute everything's fine, then he'll do an interview 30 minutes later, it's a car crash. Then the next day, we don't know where we are. Then tomorrow, everything's on track. I think that maybe there's another engineer we should be listening to. Toto,
Andrew
just
Shovlin.
He's all over the place with it to the
W.
point that I don't even know whether I should be worried or not.
I mean, he's known to sandbag in the past, but I mean, I don't know. Have we seen enough to maybe convince that is this time it's sandbagging again? Because that car is still not. I mean, they still haven't found the sweet spot. I mean, Lewis was still having some trouble driving it today. I mean, his rear was sliding all across the track. I mean, I don't know, you guys noticed it, but I
I
did.
definitely think there's problems, but like I said, like no one should have thought that they were going to come into this year a second up the road and we'd all be celebrating. You should have expected them to be on the fight back. The last race, they weren't like outpacing Red Bull. You should have always come into the season expecting them to be third fastest car fighting back. You should be hoping that they have a solid base to develop from. The car being black, whatever delusion you had, was not going to be the magic pill. They're on the fight back. I do think that some Lewis and slash Mercedes fans are determined to make this whole process a toothache. It's gonna be a clawback, and you just have to. You can find joy in watching your team win, lose, then go back to winning again.
Yep.
But if you're determined to make the whole process just exhausting, we haven't even got to race one yet, and the timeline has been
Exactly. And
awful. I'm like, if this is testing,
oh god.
I hate to see what race one's gonna be like when the car is very clearly third fastest, because that's what it's gonna be. You,
No, no, I mean,
that's what it's
I
gonna
mean,
be.
It's gonna be
I mean,
unbearable on here.
definitely.
It's gonna be unbearable.
It's
I
gonna
mean,
be
there is no point in
P5,
pulling your hair
P6.
just on the testing data. I mean, people are not even using the full fuel. Some may be using the full fuel. Some may be running on low fuel. Everyone is running different programs. I mean, the testing times don't. I don't even care. But when Toto comes into onto the mic and comes on TV and says things like this, then it gets me a bit worrying. Otherwise, obviously, I'm just hoping for things to get better by Bahrain. Obviously, the testing is
Hello,
something
You know
because
Bahrain
can I
is
say
next week,
something?
right? Bahrain
Yeah,
is next
can I
week.
say something?
Who's that? Who's that? Oh, go on.
Yeah, hello, yeah. I feel like if we look at it in a different way, we look at a Ferrari, we look at the W14. It's looking like a quick car. I mean, I've tried to understand the car, look at the other cars, the Red Bull, the Ferrari, the shape of our car this year. It's not giving us that feeling that this could be a championship winning car. I mean, it looks like a car that we have not yet fully understood. The Ferrari, the shape is looking like this is a car, but the W14 is all black. I mean, we are so happy it's black. It gives us that W11 vibes, but when we look at this W14, the shape, I mean, it doesn't look like this is the car that is there. And seeing Lewis today struggling with the rear was, I mean, it was heartbreaking. And Russell crashing, I mean, sorry, breaking down with the hydraulic failure. I mean, like, what
If
is
you
going on with
if you're
Mercedes
going if you're
Benz?
going if you're going to go on the basis of looks, then the W14 looks like the fastest. Should look basically looks like the best car on the grid. If you're going on the basis of looks, because it doesn't look like any other car on the grid. None.
if you're talking about looks, have you seen Ferrari still porpoising from the looks? I have looked Ferrari porpoise both days of testing. If we are talking about looks, then somebody want to look at that?
Uh, I mean, but that's been the Ferrari trait since last year. They porpoise, but they're still quick.
Yeah,
And
this year performance, even though the car's bouncing a lot. I mean, we've seen that last year. I mean, was it not Australia? The car was bouncing, I
it was
think, in a
bouncing
corner or
everywhere.
so, but was still quick though. Was still quick.
There was
Still
there
quick.
was no Australia. That's what I just said. You know,
Yeah.
they have the porpoising issue, but the car is still quick. So it's how
But at
they've
least,
engineered their car to work, and it works for them.
yeah. But at least we have to be very hopeful this year. I mean, the car is not bouncing, so I mean that's giving us a lot of hope that maybe this year could be better. I mean, the car's not bouncing
Oh,
enough.
but
Maybe Lewis could have
I think this year will
confidence
be
and
better.
start pushing the car. Yeah, I feel like it could be better this year. Lewis could trust the car more. Brake later into the corners and carry much speed. Last year
See,
he didn't get to do that much.
The car would be better.
we don't need to, we can't expect Mercedes to again push in pole laps and everything. I think Red Bull is far more equipped and very much ready to do that. I don't think we're going to dominate against Red Bull when it comes to poles. I think our best advantage is obviously getting that car ready for race pace. I don't
Yeah,
think they're
race pace.
gonna
Yeah,
ace
yeah,
the
race pace were
qualifiers.
really strong during the
We're not gonna
W13.
make too many pole positions. I don't think Max and Red Bull. I think anybody is going to challenge them for pole positions. Maybe Ferrari can do it, but that's why because they have good race. I mean, quali pace. I'm not even sure what is going to be their race pace. That's something of a different question to answer. But I'm more interested in us having that proper race pace rather than having one lap quali pace because
Yeah,
I don't think.
nah. I'd rather they have both. Sorry,
Of course, of
I'm not
course, of course,
I'm not
man.
in
But
for
I
I'm not
mean,
in for the qualifying in P5 and after run. No,
no, definitely not. I'm just
I'm
Yeah,
not
purely
gonna.
jesting, man. I
yeah.
mean,
Speaking about
definitely we
quali
want both.
pace, speaking about quali pace, remind us of back of 2019. That car was like wasn't a quali car, but was a race car. But at least we did have two championships from that car. So I think we should have race pace more. I think race pace should be better this year. Last year the W13 had race pace, and I was like really excited. But we need to be at the
Yeah,
front. So in case there's trouble at
yeah,
the
but
back,
here's the problem.
we need to be at the front to run away in case of the trolls at the
Yeah,
back.
but
It's
here's the
tricky when you're at the
problem.
back.
But here's the problem. Whilst they had good race pace last year, are we sure that whatever they did this year to settle the car, to settle it with the whole porpoising issue, hasn't actually removed that bit of goodness that the car had?
Yeah, yeah,
We
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know
We should keep that in consideration.
we haven't really seen them do a race run. I mean, Max did a race sims today, and he was on the soft compounds, and he was doing what 37s consistently on a
Wasn't
softer compound
wasn't the
compared to
issue the
Charles.
wasn't the biggest issue tire warm up for? That's why we lacked massive quali pace, right? What do you think they're trying to correct that this year?
I
But
think it
that would
was
have
more
been
than tire warm up that was the issue for them in quali. I think it was just they just didn't have the outright overall one lap pace.
Well, mostly it should be the tire warm up because Mercedes in general have struggled to get a tire warmed up. That's why we had the DAS system. But I think it should basically be more of the tire warm up because see, they try to get in like 2 laps before they go for their flying laps. You can see that doing some races, but I think it's
Yeah,
mainly the
them that
tire warm
run
up.
that
Yeah.
Max did was
I
racing
don't know.
was
I
very quick.
think. Sorry.
I said the run that Max did on the race sim that he did
Yeah, he was
was
doing
very
mid
quick. Yeah,
37s
he was
the
quick.
whole entire stint, and he was on a
He
softer compound
he was
with
even
Charles, who was
quicker
on the hard doing 38s.
I mean that's the thing. Red Bull have found a sweet spot, and they don't need to make major
than the
changes.
cheated
That
man.
is why they're going to start the season strong.
I mean, yeah, they finished the year with a good package. The regs hasn't really changed that much, so it was a matter of they didn't need to go looking for big gains. It was just they needed small gains, and those small gains add up to a bigger overall performance. And they seem to have refined that much better now. You look at the car, it just it it eats the bumps. It doesn't, you see, even though it's a bumpy track, and you see every car get affected by the bumps. The Red Bull doesn't. It just eats it. It just absorbs it. It's not there, and they just look planted every which way you can think of. And I mean, hats off to them. They did a better job, and that's the name of the game. Who does the better job wins, and they've done it. You can't fault them for it. Yes, they broke the cost cap in the process of doing, but that's the name of the game. But Mercedes has a lot of ground to catch up on because you're talking about they spent half of last season. They spent half of last season. Hold on, did my thing go? Can you guys hear
No,
me?
we can hear you.
Oh, I
Yeah,
thought
we
my
can hear
thing
you.
went.
We can hear you.
They spent half of last season trying to cure the porpoising. So and didn't do much development work during that time. So they practically half a season behind in development, and that's not going to be easy. That's not going to be something they're going to just claw back over one winter. It's going to take work. So all you people who are already, here's my sidekick Kingsley. All you people who are already angry, you're going to get even angrier once the season starts. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard.
Yeah, what's going to be hard a lot is when the car start having reliability issues. I mean, like seeing today Russell, having hydraulic issues. I mean, like, come on, Mercedes, you're known for having a bulletproof, reliable car, but today, seeing Russell like that today was heartbreaking. When I saw the headline, I was like, God, this cannot be
I
happening. I
mean, but
mean, we
it's
just
testing. I mean, rather have it in testing rather than
I
get it
mean,
in
I
in
think it's the
race.
same issue that affected Lewis in
yeah,
Abu
that's what
Dhabi
I'm
last
saying.
year.
That means that it wasn't fixed; it was carried over to this year's car. I mean, like,
No. You can't say it wasn't fixed. It was fixed, but hydraulic issues can happen. It's not impossible. It's not a matter of they didn't fix it. Not because it's the same sort of issue they had. No,
yeah,
it was fixed. It just
I hope
happens. But
so.
like I said, this is what testing is all about. You
Okay,
want all of your breakdowns and everything to happen in
okay.
testing. You don't want it to happen during the season, because then if
Yes.
that happens during the season, then your goose is cooked.
Can we
I
say
mean,
this?
that's the
We have
thing. Rather than do all the testing now, then actually do all the testing during the actual season. I mean, it's better to have all these issues right now and get on top of them rather than having them during the races.
Yeah, that's why it's called testing.
Yeah,
So
I
if the
mean,
car is sliding
yeah,
all
let's go
over the
testing. Yeah,
place,
of course.
that's what it's
That's good.
supposed to do during. That's what you're supposed to do during testing. You're
Yeah,
supposed
of
to
yeah.
be
course.
pushing it to the limit, trying every single thing you can, every single set of parameters you can think of to see how it reacts to setup changes. And from there, then you build in a overall picture, so okay, now if we do this, this is what happens. So this is definitely out. So that's what you do. That's why you go testing. But the only problem with this year is you only have 3 days. You've only
Yeah.
got 3 days.
Okay. Yeah, guys, are we forgetting something? The engine. We don't really talk about the engine that much. I mean, do we still have the most dominant engine on the grid? Are we the powerhouse? They're saying Honda is the powerhouse, but are we forgetting one thing? The engine. Are we looking on the engine? Look at the Mercedes power teams. Like, we're down below. What is going on? Are we hiding something or something
I
that the
th-
chassis last
I
year
think
didn't let us have the most powerful engine or something? What's going on with the engine? That's what the question we should be asking.
I I think the engines. I think the plus minus between the power units is not that great. You're talking about it could be 1 to 3 bhp plus or minus to Red Bull, to the Honda or the um
Ferrari.
Ferrari. It's I think they're pretty much on level par. Put it that way,
Oh my.
because
Level pad.
Mercedes because you have to remember Mercedes got the jump on everybody. So for
Yeah,
them,
they do.
the scope in it their returns would be smaller than someone who is trying to catch up. If you get what I mean. So
Yeah.
they've basically hit the peak quicker than everybody else. So the teams behind the other manufacturers can catch up, make bigger gains. And that's pretty much what's happened. So I think they know pretty much neck and neck. There's no one who can come out outrightly say, "Oh, we've got the most powerful engine," because
So
again,
what was wrong with
it,
our
it
straight line speed last
it's
year? Like, I mean, like,
that was drag.
I
That
mean, like the
wasn't power. That
Alpine. I mean,
wasn't a
it feels
power
like,
unit.
if you remember back in Japan in Suzuka, we felt like the Alpine of Esteban Ocon was quicker than Lewis on the straight. Like Lewis was not catching up. I mean, could that be the engine
No, that
deficit or
was issue with
something?
the drag. No,
Okay,
that
That
was
was
issue with the
drag.
drag.
okay.
That
Well, I
was
just hope the
drag. I
engine is
mean,
still the best engine on the grid because we.
They still
it's
ran
not the
the
best, but it's not the worst.
higher
So while
downforce
I'm
wing
then,
in the first two tests.
Sorry.
They're not they don't plan to run the high downforce wing they ran in the first two tests. They're still experimenting with that. I think the drag they may have been able to solve it, or maybe it's still there. We'll just have to figure out when they basically do their quali runs.
All right, hold on. I've got some people want to say something. What's this? What is it? I'm going Sean, Moles, and then F1 Techie. Sean C. All right, go on, Moles.
Hey guys, yeah. So someone just brought up the point about the wing. That's why I want to talk about.
Yeah, go on.
This wing that they're currently using in the test, is it that you? I think someone said they're experimenting, trying to figure out the drag or whatever. But the wing isn't like it's not. It doesn't look the same as the Ferrari or Red Bull one. So
It's the same one that we ran last year.
Sorry.
It's basically the same wing they had last year.
Yeah, so are they gonna bring like an updated one for the race and the first race? And if they do that,
Yeah,
then why aren't they
that's the rumor
testing with
going
it?
on. That's the rumor
That's what I
going
don't
on.
understand.
Well, that's a good question why they're not using it, but based on what I've read, it's a matter of they're using this barn door for the test to collect further data.
I see.
So, but they've got a wing in development that they should be bringing next week. So, but if we see them with this thing on the back of it, then you're gonna have to ask questions. Why have you got? You ran last year. You didn't have any. They didn't have a specific medium downforce wing. They just had the one wing that they chopped up to use for the whole entire season. So it would be kind of odd for them to come into the season with the exact same wing again. So we'll see next week what they have. We'll see next week. All right, thanks. Techie, the F1 Techie.
Hey guys, hey, how are you guys? I'm just gonna say something about the engine, the Mercs engine. Last year, we can't say they didn't have the most powerful or one of the most powerful engines in the field, because they had so much problem in their car, so they had to put this big wing in the back, okay, rear wing. So the floor didn't perform as much as they wanted. So to bring back this missing downforce, they had to put this big wing in the back. So when you have a big shoot, you're gonna eat down your battery very fast. And they had a lot of problems clipping. If you can remember, at the edges of the straight, they had a lot of problem with the engine clipping. So if you want to compare apple to apple, they are doing the same this year. They brought the same rear wing and put it on this car to compare the data coming from the floor, coming from the entire car, and from the power unit. And if you want to see also, last year, we can say Williams had the highest top speed in, like, for example, in Spa. So why can we say, yeah, Mercedes had the most powerful? Because it's difficult. These regulations with the ground effect are masking the real performance of the car, because we have so many designs, so many different ideas that we are having. So we can't compare directly now the PU performance. Now we're gonna compare the whole car performance, and later on, when the cars or the designs come near to each other, we can say this year a lot of teams are closer to the same design. So then we can say which PU is better performing, or I don't know. So that's what I'm gonna say for the guys asking for the PU.
All right, cool. Thanks, man.
Why is the Ferrari having so much better traction out of corners if it's not power unit related? How are they having the best traction out of corners? It should be the engine giving them that performance, isn't it?
Well, it also depends on the setup as well. It's not just the
setup that gives
they probably set up the car and set up the basically program the power unit to it gives more low down grunt at a lower speed, so it gives you more traction out of the corner or slower speed corners. So, and again, we don't know, but we can't just say it's just power unit. Why they have better acceleration out of corner? There's all other things to factor in. Anyway, what you want to say?
Yeah, sort of jump in actually. That was a good point about the Ferrari being quick out of corners, because last year, before Ferrari turned the power unit down, which I think was like around France, they were really quick all year up to that point out of the corners. And I was reading about how they've got a very small turbocharger.
Mm-hmm.
And if I remember correctly, I think there's a rule change for this year that says the gear ratios. God, this is so boring, but it's so important. I think the gear ratios can only be changed once. I don't know if F1 Techie knows more about this, but I think last year they could be changed twice. And I think Ferrari geared the car quite short. So it was always very quick in a straight line, as in accelerating. And in the second half of the acceleration zones, the Red Bull was quicker. And I think there's a good comparison last year between the Leclerc-Verstappen battle in Bahrain and the Leclerc-Verstappen battle in Saudi, because the Red Bull was incredibly quick at the very end of each straight, and the Ferrari was very quick at the beginning of each straight, but the power was pretty much the same. And as you say, the Mercedes was slower last year in a straight line because of drag. That engine is a piece of art, man. Like, I know it's easy to just think, oh, maybe they don't have it anymore, but it's not just the power. It's like the drivability. It's the fact that they were the first teams to do the split turbo. We saw last year Alpine tried to copy the split turbo and just how many reliability problems they had with that engine, at least on Alonso's car. I don't think there's anything to worry about the Mercedes power unit.
Yeah.
I just worry, as someone that wants to, I don't want to see another year of Red Bull winning.
I don't think no one outside of Red Bull wants to see that.
I don't even. Oh my god, it's so frustrating. I don't want another year of it.
Look,
and it just worries me that I've seen Toto Wolff and I've seen like Amos and other publications talk about how Mercedes have a B spec, well, not a B spec, but they're looking at a different side pod solution because even though the side pods are cosmetic and don't have as much error effect as the floor, Mercedes have designed their central cooling system and their radiator layout in a way that puts a lot of those components immediately behind the driver. So if you look at an aerial shot of the car, the Mercedes is lean at the side pods, but I don't want to say the word chubby, but it's a bit bigger immediately behind the driver. It doesn't taper as much as the other cars. And if they end up switching to a different side pod configuration, I wonder if they're going to be stuck until the next year to fix all the internals, because that impacts the rear suspension and the gearbox casing and things like that. So
I remember last year Mike Elliott saying, a side pod, again about the side pod, say it's not an issue because their design allows them to incorporate any one of the side pods seen on the grid. It's if teams can't do what they've done, but they can copy other teams' side pods. So I don't think that it's really going to be something that would be a problem for them. And even you talk about they put everything right behind the driver. If I remember, I can't remember where I read it, where they basically said the radiators are recessed into the monocoque, into the chassis, because that's why they kind of have that like slim shape, because they brought the radiators more inside to the what do you call it, the monocoque, whatever it is. So what was it, King said? What was the terminology they use? I think they call it X. Oh fuck! I remember I saw the video last year. I'll have to find it again. If I ever find it, I'll post it. Some era guy did the video talking about the overall shape of the Mercedes and what the design internal layout is. So I think side pod wise, and in some ways, I was looking at I don't remember who I mentioned. I think I mentioned Varun. I was looking at the American. I'm thinking the floor seems so basic, especially the floor edge in comparison to everybody else's. It looks like it's underdeveloped, and the side pod again, it just looks underdeveloped. So, are they doing what they've previously done in previous years, where they come with what we see now is where they were in the design phase at a certain point in the season, where they said, okay, we're going to stop here because we need to start building the parts. So we have parts for testing, but then carry on with the second phase of the development. If you remember, it's similar to what they did last year, because the first part of testing in Spain last year, they came with a basic package. and the package that came with in Bahrain was what they came with Spain was where they called off the wind tunnel time in November or December, I think it is, and the one they brought to Bahrain was the continuation of that. So I'm thinking, is that what they're doing? So come next week, or what's after Bahrain? Is it
Saudi.
Australia?
Saudi.
Saudi.
Yeah,
So
I was just say something before I leave. Yeah, I think that's the flaw, not relating to looking like advanced or as we can see the Ferrari and the Red Bull, their flaw looks intimidating. I think the problem is with James Allison. I mean, where's the dude? I mean, I haven't seen him. My head is fixing, building boats and stuff. They said he started working on this year's car last summer. I mean, he was not even at the launch of the W14. Like, dude, where's this guy? Isn't that our
but James Allison, I think people need to understand James Allison doesn't build the cars. He's just a technical director. He basically he's kind of like the foreman of the project. That's all he is.
So
He
like,
doesn't
who
build.
builds our car? Who built the car? Who builds the car? Like
The
there's a
designer,
guy there.
the designer is I think his name's John Owen. I think his name is. Can't remember his name.
But the guy's
And
not popular. I'm telling you,
hmm?
it's not that popular. I mean, we don't even know his name like that. If you're just not the one telling me, I wouldn't even know
well,
who he is. Like, he's not that
exactly.
popular, you
But
know.
he,
Like,
but
exactly.
but he's the guy that built the designed the W11. So
Okay, I thought it was James Allison that did the old job,
no,
But
James Allison
yeah.
doesn't design cars. James
Okay.
Allison has never designed a Formula One car in his life. I don't know why people think he's a designer. He's not.
I mean, the design of the car. I mean, we don't even know who the guy is. I'm like,
Why?
wow. I
He
read on the
he
wiki.
Why are you saying?
he's
But
basically
his
like the
why do
foreman.
his name is part of the design team. I don't know why you think he doesn't. It's
Who?
not James Allison. He's part of the design team.
James Allison's the technical director. He's the boss of everybody,
Yes.
designer, everybody.
If
So
Yeah.
he's the
you
kind of
check
like the foreman. He's the project
the
manager.
tree,
Yeah, I mean, like,
if you check the
but
tree, you're going to
he
see.
was not even a.
Hold on. If you check the tree, you're going to see James Allison. You're going to see John Owen. You're going to see some of the other guys that are in the
Yeah,
design team. So it can't just be one person designing. I think it's
No, what Thanos is trying to say is he is not actually an engineer. He was heading the team, but he was not actually involved in the aerodynamics or the engineering part of the car.
if you
he's
go
the
Yeah.
if
foreman.
you check Mercedes structure, you will see designers. You will see James Allison.
Yeah, you
You
see
will
James
see
Allison
John Owen.
first of
So
all.
if he's not a
I
designer,
mean you will.
why would his name be
I mean you
under
will.
the
It's
design
a
group?
post. I mean you will
Yeah.
because it's a
Explain.
post. It's just a post. The post doesn't mean that he's actually involved in the design.
Are
Of
you
course,
serious?
once the no,
So why was he not at the?
no,
Why was he not at the launch? I mean,
we
he
don't
was
know.
not
I mean,
present. I mean, he's busy
Because
building
he's not
boats. We need him
involved.
right
He's
now more
not
than anything.
involved.
Why is he building
He's
boats?
not involved in
we
the
don't know
current
whether he's
car. He
involved in
wasn't
the design or
involved in
not.
the current car. He has already stepped backward and decided to do other things.
Oh my
He's not
God!
involved in this current car.
No, what
Should we be
I'm saying
worried
is
that we don't
he
have
was completely
someone like
focused.
James Allison?
What I heard is he put in a lot of more focus into W14 than he put into the W13. But what Thanos is trying to say is that he may be the head of that team, but he may not have been actually part of the blueprint or the team that prepares the schematics of that car. He may be somebody who is maybe looked at the finished product or maybe discussed what are the problems. He is not exactly an engineer. That's what he's trying to say.
He's an engineer, but he's the foreman of the project. He's the
Yeah,
project manager. He's the one that oversees everybody. Make sure everything is on plan,
schedule.
on schedule.
It's part of the design.
That was
It's
basically
part of the
as a
design
technical
team. Therefore,
director.
so I don't know why you want to take him out of the design team. I mean, maybe we just.
Okay.
Thanos,
I,
can
He
I?
may be
okay.
involved. He may be
Diplo,
involved.
go
Can
on.
I?
Diplo, go on.
So okay,
I want to
hold
say.
on, Kingsley.
Sorry.
Hold on, Kingsley. Real quick. Okay, if you have an accounting firm, the chief accounting officer is not the one doing all of the spreadsheets for the firm.
Exactly.
He's the one that reviews it as a subject matter expert, make sure that they're on the right track, and
Correct.
obviously there's a chain of command to that. So while James Allison is on he's the technical director. He is on the design team. He's reviewing things that come up and down the chain of command. He's not necessarily in the trenches with the people that are day to day, building and taking apart and putting it together. He's the one that kind of reviews the concept, the timeline, the
Absolutely.
roadmap, and holds them accountable to that. And if they have an issue, then they go to him, and he provides that subject matter expertise. But he's not there every day. You know, like, why is this end plate one way and the other one is the other way? Like, that's for the
He's a
structure
project.
to
He's
figure it
basically
out.
a project manager. That's what he is. He's basically a project manager.
But
And
He
that's how
oversees the whole
like that with
entire
that's
thing.
what
everything.
that's how the hierarchy works in almost every firm you've been in.
Well,
That's
except
how
for Red
teams
Bull.
work.
Well, except for Red Bull, Adrian Newey designs and oversees practically everything.
Yeah.
But with Formula, with an engineering company, it's a little different because you can only really attain that position that James has if you've been in the trenches yourself. He gives like a philosophy
Exactly
direct.
my
So
point. What I was trying to make.
no, but no, you're both right because, for example, I saw that video on Break where they said Mercedes in the past have gone for a philosophy where they try to aim to achieve peak downforce and then they design a car around that with the mechanical and suspension kinematics, you know, to deal with that. Where other teams they try to get like a medium to high downforce. So James would have sat down with the other guys who are 2 or 3 guys underneath him, you know, Elliot and the other guy, and he'll be like, okay, which direction are we going to go? So he doesn't actually sit and say, okay, they'll get the information from their engineers who are actually sat with the with the software in the wind tunnel. They'll push it up to so and so, and then he'll push it up to Elliot, and then Elliot will come to James and say, which direction should we go? I've chosen this direction. And James will be like, oh, okay, cool, go that. Like it's the same with Hywell. What's his name? Something Hywell. He said in that interview he would love to be an engineer and actually designing the pistons and drawing the stuff and whatever, but he doesn't. He just leads and directs the team. But yeah, I think with Adrian Newey,
Oh, you
I think
mean
it's
you mean
different.
Ewell Thompson?
That's the one. Yeah,
engine guy, Ewell Thompson, I think his name is.
yeah.
Ewell Thomas.
Head of HPP. Yeah.
Yeah. So James Ellis is pretty much just a project manager.
Yeah, at this point, yeah. Even though he's credited for that, I think the last one that he had actual input in was that awesome 2012 Renault chassis. Was it Renault or Lotus at that point?
Lotus.
Yeah, I think after that,
Was it 2012 or 2013?
I think he did both, and then they moved him to Ferrari and they gave him a higher position. And then from there, when he left, came to Mercedes, he was like above. But even what's his name? Elliot said if he builds another, he said it kind of jokingly. He said if he builds another bad car, this might be his last car that he builds. And he said he answers to James. He has to answer to James whatever decision he makes. So, yeah.
Because it's James's accountability if the car is not a championship winning car, because it's his team who does it, right?
Most of those guys that come and talk to the TV, they usually have that. None of them have touched like a bit of CAD software in ages. Even what's Chauvelin? Chauvelin's not even an engineer. He's like head of trackside performance. He's never been an engineer. If you look at his LinkedIn and you look at his past employment, even though he has to understand the general like of whatever's going on, he's never like actually designed any part of a race car.
Okay, cool. All right, thanks, man. Cameron, what's up?
Thanos, talk to me, bro. I need to. I'm trying to embrace the hopium, man, but they're not giving me much to go off of still. I need to hear some words of encouragement from you, Thanos.
What, like what?
No, actually, Lauren is there in the space. She absolutely nailed about what is to be expected this season. I don't know whether she can repeat the exact same words or not, but I mean, she put it exactly how it's gonna go about this year.
What's the upshot? Sid, are we managing expectations downwards now? Competing, not necessarily winning. Is that the matter?
Yeah, but expectation. But they. I don't get you. I mean, expectations were always being managed. Who has anyone actually come out otherwise and said, "Oh, they're gonna be winning the championship"? I mean, the team themselves has come out and said, "Look, we're being cautious because, again, we're coming from such a far position, and based on what happened last year, they don't want to go ahead of themselves and saying, yeah, okay, we're definitely going." No, expectations are being managed. I think it's we as fans who wants more is the problem, because you want more. You want them to be up there from the get-go, from lights out next weekend. You want them to be up there, but it's not. It's not feasibly possible because you're not gonna claw back that sort of performance in one winter. It's just not gonna happen.
Oh wow, Thanos! I feel like this is a wake or a funeral that you're saying that now. Yeah, but this is doomsday
I've
talk.
always said that.
Thanos, you weren't even saying that 24 hours ago. You weren't even saying that. You're saying giving them a couple of races and they'll be winning races.
Yeah, I still think they're gonna win. Yeah, okay. I said I haven't changed. I said I still think they're gonna win races. They're still gonna win races, but my point is, you expect them to be right there from the start. It's naive. I never said they're going to be right there from the start. I said expect them to win races. I expect them to be. They're going to be there and thereabouts, but it's not going to be right at the beginning.
Thanos, may I say something, please?
Who's that?
Techie.
F1 Techie.
Oh, go on.
Okay, Cameron, listen. Believe me, every Merc lover right now in the space should be happy. Why? Because this year's car is in a better place than last year. Okay, they started the year. They are starting the year in a better place. You have front suspension that's actually working and rear suspension that's actually working, really working. You have the floor is working as it's supposed to be. Okay, last year with that, I don't know what I'm gonna call the W13, with that piece of art, let me say that. You almost won.
Garbage. Just call it garbage.
I was trying to sugarcoat it. Okay. So
no, put lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig. It's garbage.
Yeah. They were almost.
You can't put lipstick on a pig. But I like the other guy that was talking. He was like from England. Hello, mate. Hello, mate.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Scotty, wait a minute. Last year, they almost won 4 races. 3 of them was from strategic error, okay? And they won Brazil. So with that W13, they were able to compete hard, okay? This year, they are starting in a better place and a better performing car, and plus a better engine. From the data that we are silently analyzing, it is better, okay? So as we say,
who's analyzing? You're analyzing the data.
Yeah. From the telemetry, yeah. So it is better. Okay. So keep calm, everyone. It is the start of the season. It's maybe it's not the ultimate car, but it is a better car. Okay. They have
calm is not in some people's vocabulary. We don't do calm. It's either happiness or hysteria.
It's one
There's
or
no
zero.
in between.
Yeah, it's 1 or 0.
I mean, having a meltdown over testing data is like, what are you going to say?
Because Cameron's having a meltdown as just being here.
Thanos, I feel like I feel like this is a massive. Go on, sorry. You talk first and then I'll go. All right, then I'll go then. Thanos, I just feel like I'm confused, bruv. Normally me and you go back and forth and I'm the doomer and gloomer, but now I come on the space and you're telling me that we collectively needs to manage our expectations back. And I'm like, I feel like I'm in the Matrix and the black cat's just walked past me twice. There's a glitch in the Matrix here.
You've not said anything outwardly for me to actually pull you up on. You've come in here asking me something and I gave you an answer.
Yeah, you see, this is how I tend to play it these days with you, Thanos. I like to see you play your Queen's Gambit first and then counter you. But you've not. I agree with you, bruv. This is my conclusion at the moment. Yeah, I demand and expect too much of Mercedes because they are 8-time Constructors' Championship and ultimately passed his prologue.
Hold on, I don't think you demand or expect too much of them. We should, but at the same time, if we also have to understand that we're not always going to get what we demand and expect of them because they're operating in an environment that's not it's not linear. It's not
linear.
easy.
Linear.
It's not
Linear. Yeah.
It's we all demand. put demands and expectations of those we support. I'm a Liverpool supporter. I expect Liverpool to win every single game they play, but at the same time, I know it's near on impossible. You're gonna have a good spell. You're gonna have a point in time where you just go on a run where that demand and expectation is being fulfilled. But then you have to expect that at some point it's not gonna happen, and it's when it gets to that point, it tells more about you rather than the people you're demanding from.
Thanos, you sound like Lewis talking, doing the way of the Bushido talk and sounding
No,
all
dude, I don't do Kumbayashi. You know that.
But that's what. But Thanos, hear me out. But Thanos, this is what I've heard for the past 5 to 10 minutes.
Are you saying
it's
I'm
all
getting
about
soft?
Thanos, it's all about managing our expectation down, rational mindedness. It's more than the game.
Linear.
There is more to life than winning. And meanwhile, RB19 are over there eating absolutely everything that they kill. I feel like we're all growing soft as a fan base, and maybe, Thanos, to your point, maybe that is a good thing. I don't know, bruv. I don't know. It all feels very soft and very second place is the first loser, and if that's what we're going to be, I think we're all growing.
Sounds a little bit insincere. Yeah.
I'm being honest. I think I'm learning today that I need to manage back my expectations to expecting Mercedes to win in the second season of a new rule and reg change.
Yeah, you're right.
I expect them to win too, but I think I would be a dummy for me to go to Bahrain like, oh, they're winning, and then when they're coming P5, be like, oh, I didn't see this happening because it was a shock. No, it wasn't a shock. You kind of knew that coming off of last season, this is probably where we would be. We just have to hope they don't end the year with them DNFing again. We have to hope that there's a fight that they're actually in. But I think I'd be a dummy to be like, yeah, we're winning it all, guys. And then they don't. Like,
but McLaren's going to come in. McLaren's coming in.
I want to take the painkiller maybe after summer break. I don't want to have to take the painkiller race 1 when I know better.
I mean, definitely Red Bull was always going to be the benchmark, and we are way behind them in terms of pace or performance. It was always going to take time for us to catch up, especially with our problems last season.
What were your problems?
This is chaos. I don't even believe what I'm hearing here. You guys, I normally draw upon you guys, Thanos, for positivity, for some semblance of hope, but you guys are just giving me just stoicism. It feels too much like a funeral. It feels too much like a funeral in here. We're around with James Fowler and like Lewis and George gathered round as if we're burying the W13.
Who's that?
Dude,
just
Thanos, I'm just going to say, see, you guys have seen the Toby picture, the Toby Guru picture, where they're all just gathered around, and it looks like, of course, it's not a wake, mate. Nobody's died, but you understand the analogy. Let's not do the semantics and pettifogging.
But it's like Thanos is saying linear, like a linear. What linear? What? What are we doing?
Cameron, you don't have a crisis meeting in public.
Thanos, but you got to check. What do you mean? Do you know what linear is? Do you know what linear is? And this is me defending Thanos' point.
I think he doesn't. I've actually put him out. He doesn't know what linear means.
He's talking rubbish.
It's not a direct line from expectation to performance. There's going to be some point where a team will falter along the way. That was a simple English. I don't know why he doesn't understand that.
Yeah, that dude was a terrorist, a merchant of chaos. But you understand what I'm saying, Thanos. I'm a bit surprised and sad that we don't have our usual optimism, pessimism dynamic going on, and that we're singing from the same hymn sheet. It feels like a seminal moment.
But we've never sung from the same hymn sheet. I'm always having to challenge you. You don't like my hymn sheet.
But here we are again. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Thanos, we're both singing from the same pessimistic hymn sheet, that all realistic hymn sheet for whatever.
Oh my God! I'm still on the side of optimism. They're going to be much better than they were last year. They're going to be more competitive, and I think they're going to win races on merit rather than someone else's misfortune. I genuinely believe it.
I believe that
I
too.
just
Yeah.
don't. I just don't see a team that has had their level of success just capitulating and don't know how to get themselves back up to where they were.
So that's the issue, Thanos. So that you've talked to two separate points there, right? To talk about the durable competitive advantage that Mercedes have and maintained successfully for 8 years is a very different concept to getting back on top. I think they require two very different skill sets. That's not to say that Mercedes can't do it over a period of time, but it requires something different from what we've seen them manifest from 2014 up until now. I think, in my opinion.
But what would those two different skill sets be? Because again, I don't get that part.
One is building from the bottom up or rebuilding even. That's what they need to show now. And then one is building and sustaining, right? That's what they did so successfully from during the turbo hybrid era as of 2014.
But did they not build from the bottom to that point?
I think what Cameron is saying is Mercedes have built a car over the year where they were leading and others were trying to catch up with them. Now they are in the opposite situation where they are the one that had to catch up with somebody who's leading. You need a completely different mindset to switch in that direction.
Yeah, but they didn't just start winning just like that. They had to grind from the bottom.
No, I mean, when the turbo hybrid era from 2014, they were just winning. Every other person were trying to catch up with them. But for the first time, with the regulation change now, Red Bull is the one winning both constructor and championship. They are the one having to chase now. Now you need a different mentality. That's what I think too, for you to actually work in that space. Because if you are at the top and others are trying to catch up with you, you have some leeway to play around with. It's completely different when it's the other way around. And I think that's where the conversation is.
So in this case, the rabbit has the gun then?
No, let's say the hunted is not pursuing the hunter, kind of. I don't know.
Yeah, so the rabbit has the gun.
Yeah.
So the rabbit has the gun.
So that's it. So I agree with Cameron on that. So I think if Mercedes is looking at this purely from how they've approached the past 8 years when they won the championship and everything, there are lessons to learn from it, but I think they have to switch on a different cap right now to actually design the car differently. I think that's where I agree with.
I don't think they're looking at it in the same manner. I think they've come at a different approach because it's a new experience for them. It's something new, so they have to change their way of, working. They literally said it about last year. Despite the whole thing being a mess, it actually taught them some lessons on how to work. That they're going to have to work differently. They're going to have to approach things differently because it's a new environment for them.
Yeah.
So they didn't know how losing felt. A lot of people there didn't know how losing felt. So now that they're losing, it's a matter of how do we adjust to losing?
Yeah.
How do we redress the situation?
Thanos, let me ask you a question then, and this is not me devil's advocate or whatever, genuine question. From what you see from Mercedes, so I think you've just articulated the point better than I ever could, right? There's a change in mindset that needs to happen if they are to bridge that gap between themselves and the guys that are topping the time charts, being Red Bull and Ferrari at the moment. Do you see from them, as of February 2023, like the signs that they are changing their mindset? Are you seeing evidence of that?
I don't know to answer that one because I would have to be in the inner circle because I can't tell how the mindset is because I can only go by what they've actually said. And they seem to have taken a different approach to it. They've said they've made mistakes and they've learned. There's a different way they're going to operate, a different sort of learning. So I genuinely don't know if I can answer that question.
You have to be in the inner
that
cycle for you to answer that. I understand what you're saying. You can't just guess what is happening inside the team when you're not working with them, so you don't know what is happening there.
I mean, you guys are both right, but this is all barbershop talk and conjecture and hypothesis, right? And I would contend that I don't think we're seeing and sack off the car, right? Because we all know that you can make mistakes. This is the most expensive science project in the world in F1, and you can make mistakes. Even the best make mistakes. But that aside, I think if we rewind back, let's say 6 months, everything that I saw from them operate, like the mistakes operationally, the strategic stuff, the SH1T pit stops, I think this is even more fundamental to the struggles that Mercedes are having than the car and the design concept. That they still,
Cameron, all those things.
I don't see Thanos. I don't even see, and maybe it'll be a completely different story this year, but I don't see them even trying to shift that mindset from a dominant car that were just trying to circle the wagons and defend the lead to now fundamentally a challenger. I think they're still stuck in that 2014 to 2020 mindset.
How can you say this after we had the result in Brazil? How can you say this? How can you say that Mercedes are in the same mindset?
I think it's a good shout. I don't think you can judge these things. I think it's easier to judge these things in longer form, right? And like I said, mate, maybe they come back next week and everything's hunky-dory. They've drilled their pit stops and they're nailing this challenger mindset. Now, maybe I'm talking completely out of turn, but
you
just to interject a second, Cameron, all the things you've listed about messed up strategy, pit stop, and etc., were things that were happening even whilst they were
absolutely winning. They've just always been there.
It's not something that started to happen last year. I mean, there's so many examples you can point to where they've made strategic errors that cost them race. Hungary 2014 comes to mind. Monaco 2015 comes to mind. There's what was it? France.
I think Monaco 2019 as well.
They've made even whilst they were winning, they made strategic errors. They had slow pit stops, so it's not new.
Yeah, we just didn't notice because they had a very good car, so they could compensate for it.
So it was mitigated because they had the performance that they could cover. For some of these, but in saying that, they didn't. Not all of them were covered. They were actually punished for those mistakes. They lost those races that I mentioned. So they were they didn't lose much except for Monaco 2015. They didn't lose that one. It's just the wrong driver won.
But even if
they've been punished, they've been punished for the mistakes that they've made. You can even look at China 2018. They made was it 18 or 17? It was 18. Which year did we get? 2018. They made strategic errors there as well. So we've seen these strategic error even at the height of their success.
It's a good shot, Thanos, and they won despite it. Hence why I'm saying there needs to be, mate, there was a time back there, let's say 5 or 6 years ago, when I'd smash Deliveroo every single day of the week. But now that it's high inflation and the cost of living has gone through the roof, I need to change my mindset, right? I can't afford to do that anymore, Thanos. So this is what I'm saying to you. There's an old phrase that a wise man once said, that it's not the strongest of the species that survives, but the most adaptable to change. And this is my challenge to the guys at Mercedes. I want to see them do that over the next 3 or 4 months, because hitherto, again, to your point, Thanos, I think we're seeing from the same hymn sheet, the fact that they were making those mistakes way back when and winning notwithstanding, and that they're still making the same mistakes now, even though they can't afford to. Again, that underlines my point, right?
I'm going to challenge your point here, where you said you need to see that adaptability over the next 3-4 months. We saw that last year.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. They kept pushing the development.
We saw that adaptability from them last year. We saw that adaptability from them in 2019. So it's not a matter of saying they're capable of adapting. They've demonstrated that they can adapt. How many teams you think would have started the year they did last year and finished the way they finished?
It's a good point, man, but I think
we've seen Ferrari started the year like badly in 2020, 2021, 2020, and they didn't recover. They did not recover. We've seen
Can't count
Mercedes.
2020 Ferrari, I mean, like they were punished for their engine malpractice, so won't count that.
That's their fault. We don't care. That's their fault. But my overall point is we've seen them when they needed to buckle down, get their head down, and do the dirty work. They've done the dirty work. So I don't think we can say, oh, we need to see them be adaptable. They've demonstrated that they are adaptable.
I think that's
any other team last year, given where they started the season last year, no one would have expected them to even be on the podium, much less to win a race.
I hear you, Danos, but not to pettifag and semantic the thing out, but I think we're conflating issues ever so slightly here. The ability to develop a concept mid-season, massive green tick for Mercedes always. That's something they've always shown the ability to do, but that's very different from adapting as far as your operational, your infrastructure, your pit stops. Ferrari, we've heard them drilling pit stops because they realised that was a weak point for them last year.
That's something different. You're talking about pit stop isn't something about adaptability. That's something completely different.
No, I'd argue not, Thanos.
They just need to be better at what they do at the pit stop. Pit stop. It's nothing changes. It is what it is.
Thanos,
it says on the can.
Nah, Thanos, I disagree with you there. So here's the way I see this thing now. I think in 2023, as an example, and I've been doing a bit of data analysis around this, trying to make a video. As an example, safety cars. There's an unprecedented number of safety car instances, whether that's VSC or a full safety car, right? So pit stops, if we're talking pit stops and the ability to move in an agile fashion when in a virtual safety car circumstance or safety car, that's blood clot important now for us. Need to adapt and move accordingly, and Mercedes are not.
But in your analysis of this whole VSC, you also have to factor in where they are when a safety car. We're on the
absolutely,
track. When all of these things happen,
for sure.
It's not. Again, I'm going to use the word. It's not linear. It's not always. It's not always as straightforward as we see it. Sitting here saying, "Oh, you should go." We don't know the circumstances.
Absolutely. To your point, there is an element of good fortune in there, but the way you see, as an example, the way you see that Red Bull move in 2022 and 2023. Whenever there's a safety car, you can see that they built that into their scenario analysis. They move like they expected it, right?
Okay.
And I don't think Mercedes have done that.
Hold on a second. Let me challenge it because I'm going to disagree with you here, Cameron. Because
Red Bull.
I think people give this Red Bull strategy thing too much hype, and here why. In the years where they were actually behind Mercedes, every single strategy they went for was the only obvious strategy they had at play. It was the easy strategy call to make because why? They did not have the pace, so they had to try and do something, and it never works. Mercedes tried that last year. They didn't have the pace, so they tried on playing using strategy to win races. We saw they did it in Zandvoort, in Kota, Mexico. That failed miserably. So they have to try an alternative. Red Bull they're now the ones in the driving seat. Strategy calls are easy for them to make, just like it was when Mercedes were in the driving seat, because they had the pace, so they could employ every single possible strategy available to them. But the most obvious one available to them was there because they had the pace. I think too much is being made about this Red Bull strategy. How many times has a Red Bull strategy won them a race outright?
Spain 2021, did Mercedes have the pace? They had this mega strategy. You said strategy has always been the Mercedes. They've never ever improved on their strategy, but Spain 2021, did they have the pace to win that race that day?
Sorry, I don't know whether it's my system, but you sound like
Yeah, it's breaking for me as well.
That mic is bringing down the tone of the space, if I may. Sorry.
Yes.
I think,
sorry, I'm saying that Spain 2021, did Mercedes have the pace to win? Strategy was the one that powered them to that race win, and Lewis Hamilton's brilliance. Did they have the pace that day to win that race? Strategy was the key factor that made them win that race that day. Not just did they have the pace. I don't think they had the pace. Spain 2021, Spanish Grand Prix.
No.
Did they have the pace?
No, they had the pace. Yes, they had the pace, but the problem was Lewis got beat. Lewis lost the lead. Had he not lost the lead, he would have won the race easy. They wouldn't have needed to do that strategy. But you saw what they did. So to say they're not adaptable when strategically, I don't think it's a fair.
I mean, even to question their mentality is not fair. I mean, what they did last season, from where they started with the car and how they ended the season. I mean, they ended up getting so many podiums. Some were obviously due to bad fortunes of Ferrari, but some were definitely earned. Lewis drove his ass off. Similarly, George Russell did the same. And then you have the Brazil 1-2 to prove that over the year, the struggles they had, the developments they tried, the fixes they tried, the packages they brought in, they got the benefits of that, and they kept pushing till Brazil to get that win. So how can you question that Mercedes are still in the mindset where they are happy with their 8 championships? They still think they're superior. I mean, you didn't say that, but you're leaning towards those narratives. I mean, seriously, how can you question their mentality?
Because, but it's not so. Again, I think we're conflating issues here. Just to be precise, it's not their mental, as in durability. It's not like, I'm not calling them quitters as an example. That's what I get when you say mentality. And again, I've just articulated. I'm not questioning their ability to develop a car in real time over the course of a season. I'm questioning their ability to adapt to a game in F1 in 2023 that has changed, right? It's massively different from what it was in 2014. The safety car instance is just one example, right? The bloody rules and regs, the ability to follow and overtake is much easier, in inverted commas, if that's what they say. So again, Red Bull have built a rocket ship so that when they get on a straight, they just nail people. So factor that. These are just examples that I'm throwing out there, but factor that in then if we are so adaptable as a team, 8-time Constructors' Championship, factor that into your build, right, in your design concept. And again, that's just a couple of examples.
Yeah, but this is why I'm confused, because we're going on the assumption that they don't. Going into a race weekend, they don't factor in safety cars into any of their decision-making processes.
Maybe they do, Thanos, but it doesn't look like it to me. And again, there's not specific examples that I can point at. Oh, in fact, there is a good example. Do you remember when Lewis passed the pits last year? It wasn't Bahrain, maybe it was Saudi. Do you remember when Danny Rick was at the pits and it was just a bit of a confusion and the communication was bad? Failure, for me, manifests to act in an agile and quick and timely manner.
That was Jeddah, wasn't it?
You were talking about Jeddah.
Saudi.
If you remember correctly, Bono was talking to Lewis the whole time throughout the lap. And when Lewis came around the corner, basically, I think he said to Lewis, box. And Lewis said, damn, I've already passed the pit entrance. Yeah. But Lewis couldn't have gone into the pits anyway because Ricciardo's car was in the pit lane. Yeah. He risked getting a penalty. Yeah. So I don't think it's actually a fair comparison.
And I think if my memory serves me, Lewis passed it and someone actually, was it Magnussen went in? So yeah. I think that was Lewis's error. I think his engineer did actually tell him to box.
Bono told him to box when he came around the last corner.
Yeah.
The last corner.
Yeah, he didn't box.
No.
So Magnussen followed him in.
So
I think that's a bit.
Magnussen took the risk and he got in. Then FIA said that we are closing the pit lane, and then in the next round, Lewis couldn't get it.
Yeah, but let's be clear. I don't think Lewis, and I don't want to pin anything on Lewis because this is already a very depressing space. But Bono had been telling Lewis, box. The last message that we heard wasn't the first instruction to pit right. Bono for once had front loaded the communication towards the latter part of that lap. So I think Lewis got a little bit confused. But again, it's just one example. It's one example where if we're talking about opportunities to prove that Mercedes act in an agile way and take advantage of these safety car instances, then that's just one of many for me.
Yeah, but you also have to factor in when these safety cars came out. What position are they in? Are they in an advantageous position, or are they in a disadvantaged position?
So sometimes disadvantaged on us, but that again, if you cite that example in Jeddah, that's one brilliant example where we're in a fantastic position to take advantage of good fortune, right? Luck is where preparedness meets opportunity. So that's just one of one of many examples.
But if you use it, again, we just pointed out in that whole situation, that was Lewis's error, not the team failing to carry out
So are we differentiate? So is Lewis a separate entity from the team now? I'd consider them as a whole.
No. But if the team was instructing him box, and he saw Ricciardo's car at the entrance to the pit lane and chose not to box, you can't put that down to the team.
No, because that was a good
strategy. You can't put that down to the team and saying.
I think it's deja vu from 2020 Italian Grand Prix. I think it has to be from the 2020 Italian Grand Prix. Sorry, 2020 Italian Grand Prix. Lewis.
You are too close to your mic. Your mic is sounding
your
like.
Mic is literally every time you jump in, you literally
your voice is too loud.
You literally frighten me every time you jump in because you're so close to your mic.
And it takes something huge to frighten Thanos. Thanos doesn't get something.
See, I understand what Cameron's saying, but I think it's like multiple different issues that are getting all lumped into one point. I do think he has a point where maybe the team need to maybe work together, but I think he's like adding in like safety car. It's too many things. He has a point, but it's just additional points that are kind of murking up the waters a bit.
I'm just using that safety car thing, Thanos. I'm just using it as an example, right? Of course, Mercedes can develop a car in real time over the course of the season. Like, I'd be a fool to argue against that. But I'm just saying the game is changing, and I'm not seeing Mercedes adapt.
Cameron, we've seen them gone aggressive on pits on strategy. Again, I use Zandvoort as an example. The only reason why Lewis had an opportunity to win in Zandvoort was because they went aggressive and said, okay, we're going for a one-stop strategy. So it's not like they're incapable of doing it. It's just that they've been in a situation in the past where they didn't need to do it.
And Thanos, let me get to the crux of this and give you an example. You're in a finance bud and accountant at work, same here, and managing people. Yeah, if I know in 2023 that there is material time to be gained from just nailing the pit stops every time, if I know for a fact that we're going to see in 2023, not for a fact, but reasonably with decent probability, that we're going to see an unprecedented amount of pace car, safety car circumstances, because that's the direction that the FIA are headed in. I'm going to make sure and we're probably not going to have the quickest car. I'm going to make sure, that the team is absolutely drilled on pit stops, because we haven't been great historically over the past 24 months. Let's be honest, one of the worst on the grid. And scenario analysis around safety car pit stops. I'm going to nail it. And I did do it a couple in your defense, Thanos. They did do it a couple of times. They ran Lewis long, particularly earlier on in the season, banking on a safety car, and it didn't quite pan out for them. So they did do it. I don't want to completely throw them under the bus, but I'm saying they could do it more.
With the pit stop thing, we're working on the premise that they don't actually practice pit stop.
They don't look like they've practiced on us. That's what I'm saying, because of the worst.
But hold on. But you also have to factor in what their safety margin is for a pit stop. I think they've been historically happy with a pit stop that's on average up to 3 seconds. And again, the reason for that is, and I think this is where I'm going to kind of agree with you in some sense, is at that point in time they had the pace. So they could afford to drop maybe half a second on a pit stop to Red Bull or a Ferrari because they had that genuine pace over them, so they can make that up. In this time, this era where they are now from last year until now, it's not something that they can bank on. So I agree. They do need to get better. They need to drop that average from being 3 seconds to an average of 2.5.
That's it.
That's it. I think that's where they need to work on.
Exactly, because of where we are now.
Half a second, because again, you don't have that pace to cover for the half a second loss. No, you have to try and gain back time wherever you can. So if it means you can gain time in pit stops. So if you can drop it by half a second, that's half a second you get. You never know that half a second could win your race.
See, Thanos, we have consensus. Love it, Thanos. Thanos, by the way, I'm gonna stop talking now and pass the mic. I know Sean had his hand up for about 10 million years, but I was a bike. I kept talking.
A long time, and when I gave him the mic, he didn't say anything.
Oh well, no, that's my fault. Put that at my door. Sorry, Sean.
That's cool, man. Sean, what's up?
Hey, Thanos, you're good.
Yeah, I'm good. What's up?
Yeah, man. I do agree with Cameron, though. It looks like you guys are so upset. I don't think there's so much to worry about. This guy.
Who's upset?
Most people here, they just sound downbeat. I don't get it.
No,
I don't get it.
No, actually, it's the other way around.
around.
Cameron is upset, and we are the ones who are positive.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's nice. That's nice to hear. I do agree with F1 Techie and Lauren what they said. It's early days, man. Come on, we're actually gonna know where we are on Saturday Q2 if we get there. I hope we do. But yeah, it's I'm glad we're finding some issues during testing. I'm sure they can iron those issues out. In terms of what Cameron was saying, though, Thanos, I think like last year, if we look at the Dutch Grand Prix, I believe. Where we just messed up the strategy after it was a safety car from Tsunoda. I think he had a point. We're slacking on that. What do you think? Oh.
Which race was that again?
Is that picked at me, Sean? Is that back at Fana?
Yeah, you, Cameron. Yeah, I think from what you were saying, if you look at the Dutch Grand Prix, the strategy calls there for safety cars and whatnot, it's just not great, is it?
Why do you say that? That was the best strategy they could make. I mean,
no chance. Why did they let Russell come into the pit?
Because you cannot. What you wanted them to do? Pit Lewis and Russell together?
Sandford.
Russell had to protect Lewis. We could have got
Lewis was not in a position.
Here's the problem with Zandvoort last year. Zandvoort problem last year was Mercedes failed to stick to their modus operandi. Because remember, their modus operandi is the guy in front gets to dictate strategy.
Yeah,
that's
right. And when George kept banging on, he needed to stop. Aren't they going to? The moment they said, "Look, Lewis is not going to stop," they should have said, "George, you're not. No, sorry, we're not pitting you." And I think that's where the problem was with Zandvoort.
Man,
that's where they missed it. Their mistake was going against what they've actually said they would do.
On this one, Thanos, George, he was pushing for that stop,
but that's what I'm saying. George was pushing.
George was pushing for it. In the pit lane for that stop. He forced the stop from the team. I saw the onboard.
That's my point.
I am still blaming George for that.
No, you can't blame George for that. The team should have stopped him and said, "No,
exactly.
We are not giving one person a different strategy."
Failure in this regard.
Yeah.
Because
of course the team should have refused it. Of course,
hold on, we saw in was it Imola? No, was it Mugello 2020? Or is it and I think it happened in Portimao as well, where Bottas wanted after Lewis had stopped and got the medium tires. Bottas said, "Oh, can I get the opposite to Lewis?" And they said, "No, we can't give you because that's not what we do. That's not the arrangement, right?" And even though Bottas was pushing for it, they said no. So what happened in Zandvoort was the team made the mistake. As George, I don't blame George.
Yeah.
let's get something straight. I don't
He
blame
has the
George.
right to ask.
He has all right. He
Yeah.
has the right to ask for it.
Yeah.
That
It
is,
was the
it
team
was the
should have
same
said
track as well
no.
with Bottas and Lewis.
Sorry?
The incident you're talking about, it was Dutch Grand Prix again. You know, when Bottas was about to do a fast lap and James told him not to do it. Remember, it was the same track.
No, but not that. There was a race where
Portimao,
he
it
was
was
behind,
Portimao, where he
and he
wanted a
asked
different
and he
strategy.
asked for
Oh,
a different tire compound, and they said to him, no, because
no.
we already gave Lewis the hard compound, so we can't give you a different compound because then that's going to give you an advantage over Lewis.
Yeah.
And I think
Carlos.
in Zandvoort, the team was the problem because they should have said, look, you could cry all you want, and the thing is, there was nothing wrong with George's tires
Yeah.
because his
He has
tires were
just
younger
speeded,
than
yeah,
Lewis's.
in good shape.
Right, so they should have, and if this, and remember, they went into that race, so they're going to go aggressive to try and win the race. No, your way of in that regard, they should have said, no, we're trying to win the race, George. You're going to stay out, and you're going to be rear gunner for Lewis. Let's see if he can build a gap, and then see what happens.
Doesn't that
team's mistake?
Doesn't that prove Cameron? Well, kind of prove Cameron's point where, in that situation where George came on the radio and said, I'm losing temperature in my tires, these tires are gone, and he knows he's going to get passed on the restart, so he asked for that call. Doesn't that prove Cameron's point of adaptability, where they should have let go of that institutional rigidity, which you're saying is their modus operandi, and said, okay, you can come in, George, but Lewis needs to come in first as well, put them both on that? Doesn't that show a lack of adaptability, where even when they do make a category, when they do, stray away from their main objective, they don't get it right? Right?
In this sense, I'll agree with you.
But in a different form, Lewis was in the lead in that race. So if you were going to bring Lewis and George in, you basically have to double stack them. Then Max would just blow past. Max was going to pass them anyway.
Yeah,
so there was
the
strategy was not
on
on like Lewis had an 8 seconds gap or something. It was, if you pit both of them, then you are losing track position to Max and even the Ferrari guy. So what was the point of pitting therefore? So just risk where you are.
There was only one thing they could have done: keep Lewis and keep George, both of them out. Keep George as the shield.
Yes, that would have been it.
That was the only
keep
way
both
they
of them
could have
out.
gone.
No. Remember, they were behind the safety car and they had to drive through the pit. They weren't going through the pit straight. They've done this before where they stagnate.
Lewis was in the lead.
Lewis was in the lead. Lewis slows down a little bit, holds the pack up a bit, right? Reduces the delta. When he goes in, the double stack happens, and as he's leaving, George is already
cannot happen.
Yeah, but here's the problem.
It won't happen. The other drivers are going to pass them in the pits.
You can't double
stack to slow down the person behind
you. If Lewis slows down, if Lewis slows the pack down, that means the packs bunch together. So there's not a big enough gap for them to pit Lewis.
George slows
to do what they did.
And George, both of them.
Yeah,
they would have lost more places. In fact,
exactly.
Not one,
they would have lost more places. I don't see why
places.
that was even an option.
Yeah,
it would have worked.
If my memory serves me correctly, yeah, I don't think that would have worked. I agree that they don't respond quick enough, but I don't think that race is a good example because I think the moment that Yuki situation happened, it was done for Lewis, to be honest.
I agree with Lauren there. I don't think any one of those scenarios would have resulted in Lewis winning, but this is where you kind of need to buy a lottery ticket, because I know for a fact, if that was Red Bull, they would have never made Checo Perez pit. They would have left him out there, and if Lewis needed to overtake them both, then that's what it would have been.
But that's the point I just made. The situation. This was the team going against what they said they wouldn't do.
Yeah.
They made that mistake, and they had to own up to that, because they should have said to George, "No, you're not coming in." Because if their argument was, "Oh, we're going to go aggressive to try and win the race," then why would you pick the guy in P2 to put him on soft tires and not the guy leading the race?
Yeah.
Circle back round. You just proved my point, Thanos. Circle back round nicely. You underlined it and underpinned it. Not agile enough.
I think they're just
not adaptable.
I don't think it's
some of those
it's
things you're
not
saying, they're
agile
actually
enough.
anecdotal. They are not really. It doesn't define the entire season per se. So I don't think that's really a huge problem for them.
Look,
they just don't have a quick car.
We all agree. I think we all can agree, Cameron, that they need to work on their pit stop times. It's not good enough, and they don't have that advantage anymore where they can afford that, where they can say, okay, we can do a 3-second pit stop average, because I think that's their built-in margin, safety margin. That's what they aim for, 3 seconds. They don't have that advantage no, so they can't be doing that. And we agreed, yes, they make mistakes on strategy calls sometimes.
Every team does.
They're
I
gonna have to
think they
work
should.
on it.
Oh, they should also stop putting Lewis on some 40 lap forward tires. Thanos, I think we're getting tired of that now. Every time
What's
we've
that?
done it,
Yeah, but the
leaving
thing
Lewis
is, but
on
the thing
track.
is, you
It's
have
Lewis
No,
aside
you have
that.
no.
I'm going to have to
Let me
defend
answer this one.
Mercedes
Let
here.
me answer.
Thanos, let me go very quickly and then I'm going to jump up. But that's a good example of them trying to be adaptable, right? The reason why they left him out there so long, because they're banking on a virtual safety car or safety car circumstance and hoping that Lewis is going to be able to take advantage of the free pit stop. So whilst the outcomes weren't fantastic, they didn't nail it. I think they were unlucky, and we shouldn't punish them for doing the right thing and following the right
It's not
process. That's
just.
an
It's
example
not
of them
that.
being adaptable.
That's not the reason why they do it. They have no pace, so they have to figure a way of how to gain an advantage over a Ferrari or a Red Bull, and the only way they can do that is by tire life.
That's what Cameron said.
That's the only way. That's the only thing they can do. It's not a matter of waiting for a safety car. They have to play. They have to find an advantage some way, somehow, and the only advantage only thing they can come up with is having fresher tires, opposed to them having older tires. I mean, where can we look at race where that's actually played out for them? Hungary last year. It played out. It worked for them. It worked. By going longer, he had a tire advantage over the Ferraris and everybody else, which propelled them up the grid. So I think that's the only reason why they go that long now. So it's if it's the only hand you have to play, they have to play. It doesn't always work, but it is what it is. Cool. Oh, we finish? Everyone, Cameron's gone.
Cameron dropped
Sarah,
out.
Sarah, are you gonna come in and say something, Sarah? Sarah, I want Sarah to come in and talk, because Sarah hasn't spoken in almost a year. I think she's still in recovery.
Okay.
Sarah's still in recovery. and I think this season might put her recovery back a bit.
Personally, I don't think the day was so bad that granted the car broke down and they were not getting the traction they needed from the front axle and all that stuff. But
and the question you have to ask the question: what were they actually trying to go for? Actual proper setup, or they were just still again
going to trying to see the range
program and
of that setup, how far they can push it. So
exactly, and see what works and what
doesn't
work.
work,
So
exactly,
they know,
because
okay,
it's just 3 days.
We did this and that.
You have to do that. I did see a lot. I know Toto came out and started saying we were lost, and he's used to saying that. Honestly, from after what happened last year, I think they have to find a way to lower expectation to the lowest one they can go for, and then because that car is not inherently bad compared to if any of us, and believe many of us here, if you see the W13 and you saw this car, the difference is light and day. They're not the same at all. So at least they have a baseline to work with. Maybe because we're used to Mercedes not having reliability issues, for example, and then having to see George Russell's car stop on the track. Therefore,
but the thing is, you wouldn't even call it, because that was no power unit.
Exactly,
that was just a hydraulics failure. I think. I think if you look at the mileage so far in terms of power unit, the Mercedes power units like twice as many as anybody. Well, granted, they have more cars on the grid, but it shows you that the power unit is reliable.
Yeah, it's fine. So that's I know that compared to yesterday, today was a bit like you took a step backward, but it's not the end of the world. And I believe Mercedes should be able to.
But you said, and that's the problem. We're managing expectations because of how last year ended, everyone expects that this year they come in all
Gone
come out all
blazing,
guns
yeah.
blazing. They should be showing
Everyone
everybody should be
beating them,
topping
yeah.
the topping the timesheets every day. Yes, we're back. We mean business.
It's
That was
not
never
really,
going
it's
to
not
happen.
realistic compared.
And we don't, and we might go 3-4 races into the season before we actually see what they've been doing.
Yeah. So
people have to be patient. People have to be patient, and they have to be realistic.
Yeah, but Lewis is 38. That man doesn't have much time left.
Hey, no, I think Lewis has said it several times that he's not actually after the 8th championship. He's just here to drive. And maybe some people don't want to believe him when he says that. I actually believed him. Because the moment you start putting that pressure on yourself that you want another title, you start making mistakes. So he has a way of dealing with that expectation. If he doesn't get it, it's fine. He's made his mark already in F1. And then,
So I think he wants the 8th championship because he has always said that he wants to make a mark on the sport, not his name in the sport, but a mark on the sport. So him winning
I
his
think
he's already
eighth
made
that's
his mark.
mission accomplished.
Yeah, he's already made his mark.
Mission
no,
is already
That's
no,
done.
so,
He
so,
has
so
the
what
most
what so
win.
what
He
the thing
has
is
8
the
championships.
thing is that if he wins the 8th championship, he will not only be the only one to win the 8th championship or the man to be the most successful in F1 because currently he shares that record with Michael Schumacher.
Nah,
But
I
it
don't
will
think it's that
also,
way. Have you listened to Lewis talk
of
lately?
course, but the thing is that if he wins his 8th championship, he will definitely be a symbol or
No,
he'll
that is
be
your. That
kind
is
of a
you.
motivation
I
for
think you are the one
for
saying that. Have you listened to Lewis talk lately? Have you listened to him talk about it? He has been
L-
asked this same question
Lewis
several
already
times.
came out and said that he want to win the 8th title, and that's
he
what he's
wants to
going
win the
for. I don't think
championship. He has come and he said
Yeah,
he
it
No,
won't retire
himself.
he
until he
wants to
wins
win
it.
it.
no. That's you
He
making.
wants to win
I
it.
have seen Lewis in
No, he
recent
said it. He
interviews,
wants to win
and
it.
he says
Okay.
he's not. That's not where his mind is. That he has
That's
said. In fact, he's as
No, he recently gave an
literally
interview.
just
It's
on Drive
very
to
recent.
Survive. He literally
It's
just said his
very
goal is to
recent.
win the 8th
Drive
title
to
that was
Survive
taken
is
away
last
from
He
him.
year.
wants to win
Drive
the
to
eighth.
Survive is last year. I'm talking about this year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
think about it.
but
If it's
Kings, yeah,
last
Kings.
year, last year he was talking about how he want to win the 8th championship that was taken from him. He's still in the same mindset as that.
Yeah, Kingsley.
He
I think
wants to win that eighth.
he wants to win it. He definitely wants to win it. That's
He
why
wants
he's
to
looking to
be
sign
the
a new
only.
contract.
He wants to be the only driver and a black driver to dominate a white sport. He wants to be that person.
But he doesn't
He
need
will.
8 championships to
The
do
point.
that.
Okay,
I mean, he
let me
doesn't.
rephrase what I'm saying.
I mean, he doesn't. But it will
He, if
definitely
even if
give.
what I'm saying is,
It'll
it is
give.
not
It'll
an
give a lot of
end and be all
motivation.
for him.
Thanos, it'll give a lot of motivation to people like you, people like me, Asians, people who cannot
If you
make it
need an
into this
8th
sport.
championship
It'll
to
give them
get
motivation that
motivation,
if
then you have to motivate yourself that way. Personally,
Nah, I don't
no,
look.
no, no, that's
I think we're overthinking this one a bit. I think we're overthinking it. Does he want to win the 8
maybe,
championship?
maybe
Absolutely, he does.
he does
Does
want to
he
win it.
need to win an 8 championship to cement
No, 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 no.
his impact on the
That's
sport?
not
No.
what not what I'm saying. Maybe that's what he thinks that maybe the eighth would definitely encourage more people that if he can do it, then a lot of people can do it. Someone like him can also be at
Yeah.
the top of a sport. You
Yeah,
know,
but
like
I think his mere presence in the sport is enough encouragement for people from
definitely,
unrepresentative
definitely,
um,
definitely.
communities. So I think it's not a matter of okay, he wins 8. You know, like I've always said, Louis was it Spanners from Miss Apex said it, and it's something that always sticks in my mind. He said Lewis's greatest achievement is not winning races and poles and whatnot and championships in Formula One. It's the fact that he made it to Formula One. That's his greatest achievement of anything he's done in the sport. The fact that he made it, because not many people made it, and the fact that he's black. That's you talk about that statement. Work twice as hard to get half of what I have. He had to work 10 times as hard. So I don't think winning an 8 championship will do that. Whatever. Anyway, Sarah, what's up?
I am fine, and you?
We're in intervention.
Hi, everyone. Well, what can
Yeah,
I
go on,
say?
because I know you're not happy. I know you're not happy. What's going on?
No, I'm neither happy or unhappy. I mean, I had no expectations.
Why?
After 2022, honestly, I'm not hopeful at all. I'm just watching and see where it can lead.
So you have
Why
no
after
faith
one
in
year,
Lewis and the
after
team.
1 year that they do bad, then you lose faith after they didn't won 8 consecutive back to back. They have 1 year then, and it wasn't at the standard that Mercedes is, but they was still top 3, and you lose faith.
I know how the sport work, and it's not that in the middle of the same regulation set they fell. They didn't fail. They fell because there is a regulation change. So they didn't nail that one. So maybe their philosophy is not right. Maybe they don't seem to unlock the potential that is within the car, whatever that may be. They are not as competitive as they should be.
But no, I'm asking
If
you
it's one,
why have you lost faith after one season of them not being at the potential that we know that they can be? You lose
but
faith.
even right now, I mean, I would love them to prove me wrong, to prove me otherwise, but I also need to be realistic and don't set too high of expectations and be
But why? But
disappointed
why?
time
But why
and
do?
time
But
again.
but why can't you set your expectations high? Why are you gonna lower your expectations,
Because
especially
I
for a
want
team
something
that's
realistic.
been as successful as they've been?
Because it's not realistic, and
Why is it
also,
not
How is
I
it
mean,
realistic?
not realistic? It is.
we
They've
have
done it
seen,
back to back for 8 years.
yes, but all domination comes to an end,
Yeah,
and
but that
as
don't mean
much
you
as
can't
I
start another
don't
But
want
that
dominance.
doesn't
to,
mean that it's
I don't.
unrealistic because it's realistic because it's been done before. So that means it is realistic.
I mean, to each their own, obviously. But as far as I'm concerned, I've seen nothing that point to me that they are going back to their winning ways, not anytime soon. And of course, I will always root for them because they are my team, they are my drivers, and I want them to do well. But at the end of the day, uh, what I see is not something that encourages me enough. So, well, I'll be watching because I've been watching for a long time. But
But you shouldn't. But you
So what
shouldn't.
will you
But you
say when
shouldn't
they?
lower your
So
expectations.
when if
huh?
they have a successful
But you
season and
shouldn't lower your expectations.
if they have a successful season and challenge for the championship, then what will it be? Because you said that it's unrealistic.
I will be very pleasantly surprised.
But I'm asking you because you said that it's unrealistic.
And I also say that I would love to be proven wrong.
I'm a bit. It seems because I don't see why you should lower because they're having a bad time at the moment. You lower your expectations.
It's not a
Well,
You
bad
still
do you
you
think
time.
still
maybe?
you
It's
still
a
should
poorly
you still
designed
should be
car.
wanting them. You
It's
still
not a
should be
bad
wanting
time.
them. Huh?
A bad time is losing Monza 2020. That's a bad time. But this is a bad car. So where does that leave us? Well, maybe
Uh,
the in-season development can work
but
wonders.
we don't
I
know if
don't
this
know.
is a bad.
I
We don't
hope
know if this is
so.
a bad car.
Well, okay. I mean, coming from W13, that's why I have not much hope. But again, I want to be wrong so badly. This is all I'm asking. But again, I'm not seeing anything that encouraged me to believe that things might change anytime soon.
Okay. Okay. Just
But how
quickly
can you
in
go based off of
2020
testing?
I
Testing
hold on,
doesn't even
understand
show
the
their full
hold on,
sentiment,
potential.
Sarah. There are a lot of people that agree with
hold
you.
on, double two. Let me ask a question. Sarah, in 2020 testing, what was your opinion?
In
Did you
2020
did you
testing,
yeah, did you see anything that gave you made you believe that they could win?
it was the same set of regulation.
When I'm not talking about the same set of regulations.
But
Yeah,
that's the thing. We are in
okay,
the new set of
it was the same
regulation. So things
set of
change context.
regulations. It
If
was
we
the
were
same
in the same set of regulation and they started from like with a good car. If W13 was a good car, then okay, I would have had reasons to hope. But
But the
we've
W10 was
seen
a good car.
W13.
But the
We've
W10,
seen
but
what?
the W10 was a good car, and then when we got to the W11 in testing, it didn't look like a really good car.
It was the same set of regulation.
But
So
this is,
still,
but that's my point. You went from having a good car in the year before, and then coming into the next year, your car looks like it's a bad car.
you mean in
So same
2021 or 2020?
2020, the W11.
Oh,
So
it was
from
a
the
good car,
W10 to the
Thanos.
W11.
It was a good car.
It was a good car.
It turned out to
No,
be a
no,
good
it
car,
was
but
a good car.
it didn't
I
have a good.
remember after
It
preseason
didn't.
testing, the Mercedes, the burnout on
I
F1
mean,
was winners, Mercedes.
the one
Yeah.
time we didn't have a good testing was 2019,
Yes.
and we weren't sure that it was a good car. And even Lewis and Toto sat and said, well, this is the direction Lewis gave us in terms of development that unlocked the potential of the car. But it was the
So,
same
and
sort
why
of
you
regulation.
think that can't be done this time around?
Because we didn't have a good car to start with in 2022. That's the thing.
Yeah.
We were
Yeah.
coming from good cars, so I had no reason to doubt them. But now we are not coming from a good car. We are coming from a
Hello.
car that Lewis was unable to win with, which says a lot.
Yeah, to do a porpoising, and they ran the engine out at full potential, and the porpoising is stopping. The engine is being ran at full potential, and even the
What
F1,
are we
somebody that
talking
worked for,
about now?
Who's that?
and even with
Can you?
somebody that worked from F1, he said based
Oh
off
my God.
the data that he's seen that the car is relatively way better, and you can't see the full potential of the car right now due to testing because they're not even running it at the full strength of the engine or none of that. You don't know what tires they're on. You don't know the how much fuel is in it or nothing. So you can't go based off of testing.
I agree, you can't go based off of testing, but we can't also. But Red Bull and Ferrari also didn't stop developing, so they didn't
Personally,
have to
I'm not.
face.
Red
I'm not
Bull and
voting
Ferrari did
anything
stop
on
developing
testing.
last year. Red Bull and Ferrari did stop developing last year.
Yeah, but they had a significant advantage over Mercedes.
No, I didn't say that. You said that Red Bull and Ferrari didn't stop developing. I didn't say that they didn't have an advantage. They did have an advantage.
The biggest advantage was more to Red Bull than it was the Ferrari.
Yeah, and Mercedes actually won the race in Brazil. So I mean, like, they did have an advantage. But once the porpoising stopped, they was already on the back foot because of the porpoising, so they couldn't develop. Once the porpoising stopped, they started making gains. And now that they're not starting with porpoising, they're already able to develop at a faster rate than they were able to last year.
Yeah, but it was very truck specific. Because even during
what was
Mercedes
track
years of
specific?
dominance, you had tracks that were specifically fitted for the Red Bull, Mexico, Monaco. So Brazil, I don't think we should use Brazil as if it was a magic solution or like it solved everything and anything. I mean, they had a massive advantage, and from that point, we don't know. So,
I mean,
let's see.
I wouldn't.
I mean,
I
listen,
wouldn't say
remember
that. I
how they
wouldn't say
looked
it
in
was.
Barcelona that time, and we all thought things were getting better, and then the next
Yeah,
race
but
happened, and we went right back to zero.
Exactly.
but again, what they said about that was they had resolved the porpoising issue, but then it brought up another problem that they didn't see. So it wasn't just one problem they had last year with the car; they had multiple problems.
They also say that they lost approximately 9 months in terms of development, in terms of
Which they did.
So that's why I'm saying
I don't expect them to claw back the gap that they've lost, that they currently have to the Red Bull and the Ferraris in straight away. It's going to take time, but to just kind of like.
Why are you surprised that Sarah's cautiously optimistic then?
You can't blame Sarah for being cautious.
But I mean, Sarah expects them to win every single race. So I kind of understand.
No, not at all.
They're not supposed to lose.
Not at all.
Losing is not in Sarah's vocabulary.
I think she's just being pragmatic. It's not a bad thing to think the way she's thinking. I mean, it's a very rational way of thinking because the car that we had last year was not a good car. So to develop that car to become a good car and then pursue Red Bull to overtake them is going to take a while, and that's a rational way
What
of
are
I
we talking about
disagree.
here, guys?
I
Good
disagree.
evening.
I disagree.
Good evening,
I
Alexis.
disagree with that. You
What
can't
are we
you
talking
can't sit there
about
and
here?
say that the car that we had last year wasn't good or bad because once they eliminate the problems, then you'll be able
Brother.
to see the full potential of the car. We never got to see the full potential of the car, so you can't say the car is good or bad. Once you earn out the problems and see the full potential, then you can make your adjustment on the car if it's a good or bad car, because they could come out this year and be fighting with Ferrari and Red
You
Bull.
can say the car was bad because it was bad.
Personally, I think the definition of a bad car is quite simple.
Yes,
If Lewis Hamilton can't win in a car,
the car is
it's a
bad.
bad
The
car.
car is bad.
It's a bad
You can say the
car.
car is
Wait, so I
bad
have a
and then we're
question.
working on it. Don't say we don't know
So
whether the
can
car
I
is good or bad.
can I ask you a question?
Okay.
So if
The
so
car,
can
if
I
the car bouncing ex nihilo, the bouncing was part of the car. So it's a bad car.
So can I
And
ask you a question then? So if a car never if a car never gets to show you its full potential, how can you have a full judgment on it? We never got the full potential of the car.
then it's a bad car.
You like okay, never mind.
All right, hold
If
on.
you
Hold on. Let
To
me
make
get Bonita Lisborg.
best in the business, and
Uh,
it should be obvious. But
mute your mic. All right, okay, hold on. Let me get Bonita. Go on, Bonita. You have the mic.
Good evening.
Good
I'm
evening.
curious. What are we talking about? Sarah, no offense, but seriously, we spent almost 30 minutes trying to console you. Everybody on this panel, I'm like wondering what's going on. It's only second day of testing. What could possibly be so bad? What is everybody looking for? I believe
Purple sectors.
Mercedes is great. So excuse me, today was not a good day. What does that mean? I cannot be doing what I'm doing, like being a racer, and everybody's in the panel. Sarah is like, I'm like, oh my God, no offense, but if you're my fan, I don't want you to be my fan. You bring everybody down in a group who's already not happy. I don't get that. Either you with Mercedes and Lois or you're not. You can't be saying you have no hope. There's always hope. Once you wake up in the morning, that's enough for the day. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Come on, let's everybody just relax and wait for next week. I personally don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's bad.
either.
We could all wake up tomorrow and Mercedes could score the third day. We don't know what's going to happen. What's all this doubt all the time?
Debbie Downers. You Debbie Downers. Tell them, Bonita.
I don't get
Tell
that.
them off, Bonita.
Say that again,
Put them
Bonita.
in the
Say that
place,
again.
Bonita. Debbie
If
Downers.
and I'm listening to you guys, you will make me more depressed.
These Debbie Downers. Tell them off, Bonita. Put them in the place.
What the heck? Sarah, I don't know
You just
but
can't judge it. You just can't
I've
judge the
never
car
seen
off of
you
testing.
be such a bad person in believing. You can't go to church and don't have that faith or don't believe. I believe Lewis gonna do great. I just feel it. You guys, everybody know Lewis been racing forever. Even last year when it was not so great, Lewis still did well to get podium, even if it was second place. But he did it. Other people never would have even gone that far, done that well. Come on. Either you get in the spirit or get out of the groove. Come on. What the hell is going on?
Tell them off. And
guys,
preach, Bonita. You Debbie Downers.
Seriously.
This all I
Sarah
gotta
is
say.
Because we're fans, we can't be realistic.
I don't know
Well, I mean, you
wait,
can't
wait,
say
hold
we
on.
can't be realistic because he literally just said that it's unrealistic for them to have a good car this year. It's not unrealistic because
It's
Mercedes.
I never said it's
Mercedes.
unrealistic.
You
I'm
did. You
saying,
literally said
Are
it's
you
unrealistic. You
my
literally
name
said
is
it's unreal.
Lauren, and no, I didn't say it's
Oh,
unrealistic.
Well, I'm talking about Sarah. I'm talking about
What I'm
Sarah.
saying is, I think it's fair for a
Well,
fan to be realistic. We
Exactly.
can't be living in
Exactly. I agree with
delusion
that.
because
I
we're
agree.
no,
how
fans.
is that?
but Lauren, can I ask you a question? But okay, so since I was talking about what Sarah said, how is it unrealistic to have a good car from Mercedes this year?
I
How is
don't
that
think that's what
unrealistic?
Sarah
I
meant,
just
but she's still here. She can
personally, I
answer.
just feel like my expectation is it's going to be a slow progress. It may not be race one. I feel like they will win, but I'm not going into next week thinking that.
Exactly. That's the
I think
rational
maybe it
thinking.
will be
Yeah.
a lot closer than it was last year, but I'm not thinking it's going to be P1.
Exactly.
We have, like I said,
Exactly.
the other teams didn't say, okay, we're going to stop developing and wait for Mercedes. No, they've got a car that's far away.
Mm-hmm.
We have to catch up.
Yeah.
So can I
No,
ask you a
exactly. They
question?
And
don't go
3
to.
months in the
I
winter
don't care
isn't
about next week's
enough.
race,
But can
but
I
I
ask
mean,
you a question? Did you know that Andrew Shovlin stopped in the middle of 2022 to start developing a W14 last year? Do you know that
Yeah,
Red Bull and
but
Ferrari stopped developing last year after when there was still like 4 to 5 more races left while Andrew Shovlin was working on a W14? So
yeah,
that
Well,
means
he had
let's
no
be
choice though because the car was not doing
realistic
well.
no,
though.
you do have a choice because Mercedes has never done that where they stopped where
They were
they
never
Because the
send
car
one of
was
their
consistent with
lead.
that.
bad. That was why they had to
No,
stop.
but no. But I get that. But Mercedes never done that where they send one of their lead engineers to stop in the middle of the
They
year
didn't
to start
have to.
developing. No. I never said that they had to. I'm not saying none of that. All I'm saying is that Mercedes has never done that where their lead engineer stops in the middle of the season to start developing the
Because the previous
W14
car
for
has
next.
not been
Yeah,
bad.
Yeah, but I'm
exactly.
not
Like
saying
you
the
have to.
reason why
no,
he
but
did that. I'm
you
saying the
don't
whole
get
point is that
how
while
you
the
know
races
that
was going on
progress.
last year, they were still developing a new car, which could give them a lead foot because I already knew the direction that they wanted to go to. It don't matter if the car was good, bad, or ugly. It don't
To
matter.
Oh,
He
to a
still
certain
had a
it
point though,
matters
because
that
if
the
you
car
look
was
at
good,
Red
bad,
Bull
and
and
ugly. If the
Ferrari,
car, if they
Red
had
Bull
a
didn't
Red
have
Bull
to make
car, they would not be
major
developing it at that
changes.
time.
Okay,
But you
people.
said if they had
If
the Red Bull
if
car, then they wouldn't have been developing. That's false because the top teams always
What I
develop
mean is
next
they
year's
would start the
But
car
you
next
just
year
said that they
car.
during the
don't make
What
last
I,
changes
no,
to
year.
start that
you're
early.
putting words
okay,
in my mouth.
Matt,
What I
Matt,
was saying is
Matt,
they
we
would not
can't
be
hear you. You're
developing the
talking.
next year's car that early if they have a car like Red Bull's car. That's what I'm saying. I didn't say they have to. They would not
Yeah,
develop the car. They won't start developing the next year's car as early as they did with the W14 because they knew the W13 was bad.
no. Okay, but still, okay. So you mean to tell me that Red Bull didn't have upgrades and knew the direction that they wanted to go in with this year towards the middle or towards the quarter end of last year? Because they did, because those
Of
reports Christian
of
Horner already
course,
came out
but
and
Of
you
so
course,
have
I'm
to
what are you
see.
just
saying
just
So hold
messing
on,
up the whole thing?
let me just talk real quick. So
no, but you
yes,
literally just said that they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't have done it that soon
okay.
because they had a good car. And now you're telling me that, of course, that they did it.
Well,
So which one is it?
can I just let me speak? So real quick. So when you put in that perspective, yes, every company is going to want to work on their car, but when you have a car that's established and performing at a high level, there's less upgrades or less stuff that they have to focus on, especially how dominant Red Bull was last year. Now you come into this year, they're already looking pretty good, and I do see Sarah's side a little bit being realistic, but at the same time, I want Mercedes to do well. But you have to see that Red Bull is going to be a dominant force once again, unless something happens, maybe mechanical wise or something like that. But at the same time, yes, Mercedes ended early because they had no choice. Their car was not performing. So that was a smart decision, dude. They knew that they didn't have a chance to win that last year. They were too far behind. That is a smart decision. That's a good business decision. But Red Bull and was still dominant. That's not going to take away from them. They're not going to make major changes when you're a dominant force.
Yeah, but Red Bull was still developing towards the end of the year last year too, as well. So that's the whole thing. It all started because they said that Red Bull and Ferrari. Do you ever think that Red Bull and Ferrari stopped developing? They did stop developing. Christian Horner came out and said that they stopped developing once Ferrari stopped developing and they had to lead in the championship. So they
Yeah.
did. And what I'm saying is Mercedes in the middle of last year knew the direction that they wanted to still stick with the zero part design, and they knew where the problems was in the car. So then they sent Andrew Shovlin to start working on the W14 for the next year to try to close the gap. So it's going to be a gap, but I don't think it's going to be as big of a gap as it was because one, the Porpoising they could develop at a faster rate than last year because the Porpoising ain't a thing. Two, they could run their engine at full power, which they didn't last year. Three, they said that the car is handling better.
So would you
I
prefer
think
them to continue with the W13 after last year, or do you prefer them to go to the W14?
No, I'm not saying that was wrong. I'm saying that's good that they did that.
But this goes back to how you're talking about how the W13 never got to its full potential because we never got to see it. So my question to you is, how long is too long? Because in a
Yeah,
business
but
like
this
this,
is still a
every second,
W13.
every hour, every minute counts. We're like, hey, listen, they saw the W13 was not it. They saw it. And that's why they changed eventually to the W14, where you're like, oh, well, at the same time, we never saw the full potential, so we don't know if it's bad. It was
It
bad
was a
because it never
bad
came
Yeah,
car. There is no way to
but can I
characterize
ask
it.
you a question though? The W14 is a offspring of the W13 because it still has a zero pods and everything. It damn near looks the same. Just the side pods is flat instead of having that
The
couture
pod, the
texture to it.
pod is not the
So it's just
characteristics of the car.
It's an upgraded W13. It is the same because even Toto Wolff last year said that they changed the characteristics underneath it from when they started it, and they took it to the W14. They added upgrades to the W14, so it's an offspring from the
The
W13 with better parts.
W14 has completely different suspension system. For example, they're not the same.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not talking about the suspension. I'm talking about under the floor and I'm talking about the stuff that you can't see that Toto Wolff was talking about. He
Like for
said last
example,
year mid-season they went to under the floor and all of the under the floor majority because that's where most of the shit come from.
are you saying the W13 was not a bad car?
I'm saying, look, if the W14 is a shitty car this year, then the W13 is a shitty car. The
No,
W13 is a
no,
shitty
no,
car as of now.
I
No,
think
let me
No, no,
finish.
no.
Let me finish. You asked me a question. Let me finish. The W13 was a bad car last year. This is the offspring of the W13. So if the W14 is shitty, then the W13 and all of that is a shitty car because this is an offspring of the W14 with just upgraded
Okay, so
parts.
you're saying if the W14 is good, therefore the W13 was good. Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm saying if the W14 is good, then that means that the W13 have more potential to be a better car. They just didn't get the
Okay,
full
maybe you are speaking too
potential.
many words. Yes or no? Is W13 was it a
No,
good car or a bad
You
car?
asked me a question. You can't tell me how to answer a question. You asked me a question. I answered it how I want to answer it.
It was a yes or no question. You can decide not to answer
okay,
it.
people.
The W13 was a
Okay,
bad
people.
car.
Okay,
How
people.
are you gonna ask me a question and get mad how I answer it? Don't ask me a
Okay,
question
people.
then.
Okay. Let's temper our tempers, please. We don't need to, get heated or anything like that. Sarah, the mic is yours.
Thank you. Wow, it got pretty heated.
Really heated.
Toto called the car a useless car.
Kingsley, Sarah has the mic.
I didn't expect things to get that heated. What I want to say is that it's important for each of us to acknowledge that each of us has their opinion. We love Mercedes as fans. We love Lewis as fans in our very own way. I don't think there is a good or bad way to express our passion for this sport. And I didn't really appreciate the tone of Bonita. As you said, you don't know me. I don't know you. I have my own sensitivity and my own understanding of what I see in F1. And it's important to know that each of us, we see what we see and we appreciate things with our own perspective. So if I'm skeptical, that's me. But feel free to be optimistic. I don't mind. I never forced you or coerced you into being pessimistic as I am. So that's me. Speaking of the W14 or 13, I think we can all agree W13 was the worst car Mercedes ever produced by their own
Mercedes
admission.
themselves said that. Yes, Mercedes themselves said that.
By their own admission, it's the worst car they ever produced. I'm not saying it, they said it. So from the worst car they ever produced, I want to see them bounce back. This is all I hope for. Like, I want to see Lewis win that 9th title so badly. But again, to win this, he needs a good car. I don't know. As things stand, I don't know how good will the W14 be? I hope it will be a good one, but I'm not sure at all. So all I can say is, well, I'm waiting for Bahrain Q3, and we will see if Mercedes did a job good enough to at least stretch some part of the gap, because I don't expect them to jump Ferrari and Red Bull.
But Bahrain, but you can't use the first race of the season to form that opinion, because again,
no, it's not, you form an opinion over an entire season, not just a race. But at least Bahrain will be a first test to see how much of a gap did they cut.
Yeah, you're right.
It won't be a final. It won't be a final appreciation, but it will be the first one. That's for sure.
Okay, cool. I get you, man. Like Lauren just put in the chat, the W14 dividing us. We've not even had a race yet.
No.
And
I think the consensus around the W14
everyone's sitting on nails.
No, the W14. The consensus is that
That's
the car
what they did
is not
to
a
us.
bad car.
The W13 has been the worst.
Yeah.
Mercedes
ever.
will pay for this.
Yeah.
Mercedes will pay for their crimes. They will pay. Hey, come on, we have to laugh, man. We should laugh. We should laugh. We should laugh. We can't be too
I
serious.
have faith in the W14, even if
Kingsley, like I've said, look, you don't win 8 championships in a row by
not at all. Yeah.
You don't do that, and they've made some mistakes. They've acknowledged,
absolutely.
and this is the thing I've always liked about Mercedes.
Me too.
As a team, they hold themselves accountable.
To a higher
They've never
standard,
actually
yes.
tried to hide from
They
anything
don't
or
hide,
say,
yeah.
It was someone else's fault. It was this. They always hold their hand up and say, "Look,
we messed up.
We screwed up.
Messed up. Yeah.
We messed up. So we have to dig ourselves
out of this hole." Yeah.
So it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen overnight.
Of course not.
We all know it's not going to happen overnight, because again, it's a moving scale. Yeah. It's constantly moving. It doesn't stay still. So it's going to take them a while. How much? I think we said here before, Kingsley, that if after the first couple of races the gap is 2-3 tenths,
Mercedes is going that is a gap we can fight for. Yeah.
I'm going to be happy with that, because that shows that they're actually moving in the right direction.
Yes.
They've made drastic improvements. We saw they made improvements last year.
Agreed.
They made progress last year, and I think they've made progress already this year.
Oh, absolutely!
They've made 100% progress this year, because again, last year at this point, that thing probably already broke couple vertebrates in Lewis and George's back, right?
Useless.
We don't see that from them.
Yeah.
The car looks more stable. It's not bouncing. Yes, the sliding on what we've seen so far is probably due to the fact that they've not actually gone
for performance,
started doing a full race setup. They've not gone into we're in a race weekend, so now let's set the car up for a race weekend. They're just going through the program. Let's try this, let's try that, see what
we can
works.
understand.
That didn't work, we can get rid of
that.
Yeah. That work, we can keep this, and how we can build. And I think that's what they're going through. So we're going to have to, we're not going to see in Bahrain. We could be surprised in Bahrain, because who thought they'd have won Bahrain in 2021?
Oh yeah,
but they did.
Yeah,
but they did.
Yeah.
But we could be surprised. But I don't think we're going to be surprised. But I think as the season goes on, they're going to get better.
They're going to get better.
They're going to get better, because they've shown it year upon year that during the season they know how to develop a package.
They can develop that car,
because you would not what we saw at the start of last year. No one would have any confidence that car would have even been on the podium in the first race of the season.
After Jeddah,
it was on the
we
podium.
were struggling for Q1. Q1 we are getting knocked out of Q1.
Kingsley, we went from
God,
I pray we make it out of Q3 to we celebrating making it into Q2 to then get to the point where you're consistently in a Q1 qualifier to the point because remember at the start of the year their main competitors was friggin' Alfa Romeo.
Yes, Alfa.
And as the season progressed, they built themselves up. They basically separated themselves
from the midfield.
We're clearly the third best team. The gap to those from fourth downwards was huge.
Yeah.
It wasn't a small gap. They moved themselves away from that group. So we've seen that they can do
it. Yes, they can
do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's gonna take time, and I can understand Sarah's.
I understand her perfectly. Her emotion is rational. Yeah.
Is it pessimism?
It's not that pessimistic. It's just a rational thought process. Exactly. It's not a pessimistic view. It's rational.
Yeah. So I mean, I understand all sides of the argument, and I get where everyone is coming from, and I think each argument is a valid
one. Yeah.
It's a valid. I don't think anyone can. No one argument is more valid than the other. I think they're equally valid. So, again, and that's all of this comes from expectations because Sarah's expectations is high, as is everybody's. And yeah, what?
No.
Sarah's expectation is always high, and if they're not delivering on that expectation, she's entitled to feel the way she feels, and that's cool.
It is.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is.
So I don't want anyone in the space feel like the conversation, someone is trying to be disrespectful to someone or to another. That's not the case.
No.
I think everyone is just giving their own perspective on the whole entire situation, and again, like I said, every perspective is valid.
Oh yes, absolutely.
We just have to learn to acknowledge that, and I think we're all good. My Charlie, what's happening, man? Charlie,
your mic is mute.
Oh God, what?
Charlie, we're not hearing you.
Charlie, what's that?
Can you hear me now?
No, sign out and come back again. We're not hearing you.
No, we can't hear you.
All right, I'll sign out and come back in.
We can't hear you.
So what y'all think about the W14 so far, from like the way it's driving, the handling and stuff?
The car is good. Compared to the W13, I think W14 is light years ahead of the W13 too.
I don't think we can actually tell how well it's handling as yet, because I don't think they've actually gone down the path of actually let's try to get it set up
performance
for a race.
I'm talking about the way how Lewis and George ain't got to fight the car on entry, and it's not a lot of oversteer on the
it's better on it's better.
The exit.
Mm-hmm. Well, George did come out yesterday, I think it was, and said the car is now much better on corner entry, which it wasn't last year, which is a good sign. And he said it's better, it's better in slow speed corner, so that's a good sign.
Apart from the Red Bull, I think the Mercedes, in terms of consistency, in I don't know how much fuel we were carrying that yesterday. Lewis was consistently doing solid lifetime, but in the 138s. Consistently, but with a different compound of tire to what the Red Bull
was on the harder
tires.
Yes,
and it was consistently delivering it. So that means the car is, to an extent, is okay for them to handle. I don't even want to mention the W13. Lewis said it's the worst car he has ever driven. And that includes the McLaren.
He's lying.
Was that McLaren?
Because he drove the 2009
McLaren, exactly.
That was shit.
2009 McLaren, and he said this car, the W13 was worse than that car. That was when I gave up on the W13. Yeah,
that was bad. But that's cool. Hey, Charlie, you come back in. Charlie, you have the mic.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Loud and clear.
Yeah, hi, guys. I've been away for so long. Obviously, personal issues and that. And this has actually been my first day actually back watching the what's been happening on the TV. To be honest, I've got to remember that this isn't a qualifying weekend, is it?
No.
They are actually, trialing out the car. And I remembered last year, I'm sure we all watched it last year, watching that thing bounce down the straight, sparks flying everywhere. And then, if you think of the amount of work that they've actually put in to the W13, I was listening to Pat Simons earlier today as well, and he emphasised that a lot of the machinery that we're seeing is evolution of last year, especially in terms of Red Bull, which is probably why. I mean, let's face it, they were fast out of the hat, because if it was fast last year, I mean, apart from polishing it and adding a few bits to it, there wasn't really much to do. But when you consider that Mercedes had to really work from a blank canvas, and a lot of that work was done by Lewis, especially in the early months of last year with the W13, and a lot of that has now been put into the W14, which is probably why we don't see the car bouncing around. Because I'm sure when everybody turned on their TV for test day 1, that was all of our biggest fears. And no, that's gone. So now they can actually start working on trialing things, which is what they're doing. Because if I remember, it's called testing, you know. But our expectations is, because we see the Red Bull going so fast down the straight and leaving everybody 2 seconds behind, that the Mercedes should be there as well. But when have Mercedes ever done that? I'm looking back. Maybe somebody can help me out. Apart from doing loads of laps, I've never seen them really do performance runs in testing.
They don't, and that's why I'm saying you can't tell the full potential of the car yet, but you can tell that it's better, and the handling is better.
Car now. They've got a roadmap with the no side pod issue. Yeah. Love it or like it, it looks like it's here to stay. But I do get this feeling that Mercedes are probably in a much better place, because you know they are. I mean, there's a lot of windbag talk going out there. I'm seeing sandbags on Insta and stuff. There could be an element of that. Even when we was on board with Lewis, I think I'd never ever see him go above 7th gear. So, you know, take that as you will. I will remain an optimist, as Thanos probably knows I am. Thanos, I'm really impressed with you. I mean, I've been listening to the space, and I see a more nurturing, more understanding Thanos this year round than probably what I saw.
You know what? You're the second person that's actually said I'm getting soft. I don't like that.
But Thanos, I see a lot of your posts. I may not be around because I lost my sister last year, but I see a lot of your posts.
My condolences to you.
Yeah, these things happen, unfortunately, but it does really take you, you know. So I do apologize for not being around, because cool. I love my F1, but I think that we should be optimistic about this season. It may not be right out of the hat, but you know what? I would never ever take anything for granted when it comes to Mercedes and performance, because you know they're telling us what they want us to know, yeah, and you know, then they surprise us, then something happens, and they'll surprise us either way. I think next week we are going to get a surprise either way. Either they're going to be third but closer to the front, or they're going to be at the front. I do not see them going backwards, not with this car, right? So
I mean, Lewis said didn't Lewis say they can win races with this car?
Yeah.
And I mean, if he says that, then if he says that, then that's enough.
Can I
evidence
just say,
for me?
Yeah, Thanos, can I just say something? Can somebody refresh my memory? Last year, when they went testing, the first car, was it the W13, or did they have another car and then they sprung the W13 on everyone?
They had a different
side pod.
First
Yeah,
one.
different side pods.
They had a car. They started it off with side pods, and then they unveiled the W13.
Yeah,
didn't they?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so you know this is where we. I think we also need to be able to get into the psyche of Mercedes as well. They've started off testing this year with a uprated version of the W13, and they've called it the W14. Right? Who's to say? I love conspiracy theories, to be honest. Who's to say that what we're actually seeing is what's going to be on the grid next week? So hold the space, guys. Hold the space, because Mercedes love to throw people curveballs, and they're doing that. They're doing that now. I mean, out of all of the teams to have a hydraulic failure, would you have ever thought the Mercedes would? And taking it even one step further, who would have actually thought, that Aston Martin would be showing up second on the timesheets with a Mercedes engine in the back? Come on, guys. Come on. Yeah. It's got a Mercedes engine in the back. It shows up second on the timesheets, and Mercedes is in 17th and 19th. Do the maths. Yeah. Think about it. Yeah. They love to throw us off. They love to surprise us. And then we come on this space probably in a week or so's time, and we're waxing lyrical about everything, or we're moaning in our soup. I think maybe waxing lyrical may be the thing this time round.
I think this is the car we're going to see in Bahrain next week. They're not bringing anything. Maybe down the road they might bring something, but this is the car we're going to see.
They probably bring a new rear wing because there's no
Yeah, the rear wing. Yeah.
Exactly. Look at the size of that barn door that they've got on the back of the car. Come on, guys. Come on, seriously.
No, they're testing
Even when they open up the DRS on it, it is still a barn door. But yet still, nobody, we don't think or look at any of these things. All we think is, oh, they're not top of the testing timesheets. I don't give a monkeys about the testing timesheets. All I want to be able to see is that the car has, good traction, which apparently it has. It's quick out of slow turn, out of slow corners, which apparently it wasn't last year. So there are lots of improvements, and those things have to translate into lap time. So let's wait and see. Yeah, maybe they might show us a little caveat tomorrow. Yeah, don't hold your breath. Yeah, but we've only got a week to find out, haven't we? Yeah, and then I'm sure Thanos will post this up, and then we'll have either a celebration with champagne or a post-mortem, one of the two. Yeah, but hey, that's the way it goes. Thanks, guys. I'm ready for work.
All right, thanks, Charlie. Nice words, man. And again, condolences for the loss of your sister, man. I wish you and your family well, man. Take it easy. Diddy, what's up?
Hi guys. Nice to be back on space again. Just thought I'd jump on and reply a bit to Charlie. I do not think we're going to see a repeat of last year where the Barcelona car was different to the Bahrain car, because that was a huge lesson for Mercedes in humility and like eating humble pie, where they were thought they had the shit and this concept and this amazing design, and then they came to Bahrain testing and they were like, shit, what has happened? So I do not think we are going to see that. I think this is the car we are getting. They are testing the car for next weekend, and we're not going to have some massive change for next week. Definitely not, 100% not. Last year was a huge kind of shock for them. You could see on all their faces when they were when people were like, yeah, we're all sandbagging. Lewis was like, no, it's really bouncing, and everyone's like, yeah, what has happened? And it was a massive shock, and you could see almost the kind of oh my god, we really thought we had the shit, and it was just shit. So I do not think that's going to happen this year. However, I do think we do have reason to be hopeful. Like we said, the car looks.
Diddy.
Yeah.
If have you been kidnapped?
No, have I been kidnapped?
Yeah.
Who's your favorite driver? Who's your favorite?
Your hands are still up. That's why Thanos is saying that. So
who's your favorite
don't mind
driver?
Thanos.
Who's your favorite driver?
Lewis.
Okay, you're not kidnapped. Yeah, carry on. I was just checking because you were saying some things that it's kind of out of character. I expected you to come on here and you basically unload on Mercedes. So I think we've both done soft, but carry on.
No, Diddy, it's not like that. What?
Kingsley, carry on, Diddy.
So anyway, reasons to be hopeful is 1, the bouncing. My God, yay! 2, obviously they made massive progress towards the end of the year. We were capable of winning races, actually challenging for races, and we aren't as much as I have, as Thanos is clearly just about to point out, criticized a lot of, for instance, strategic decisions. We are not Ferrari, so we can pull the team together and make decisions. So I think that Mercedes is definitely in the rebuild phase, and I don't even think we need. Yeah, clearly Red Bull is still going to be the fastest off the blocks here, but I think we can catch them up. 1 and 2. I don't think we need to have we never needed the fastest car. Lewis Hamilton does not need the fastest car to win races or win a championship. Even he just needs a car that can compete. and that's enough for me to believe.
10 to 210, so we good.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. So
Okay.
I'm definitely feeling in a better place than Bahrain this time last year. So yeah.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, cool. Thanks, Diddy. Lauren.
Oh, I just saw an article where someone from McLaren was saying that they just haven't got it right. And I'm like, do you look? I've been hearing that they've gone really wrong. Do you think that's serious? Or do you think they're
McLaren?
playing game? Yeah.
Oh, no, it's
It's
definitely
genuine,
serious
yeah.
because you remember McLaren basically on the day
They unveiled the car.
unveiled the car, they basically said, "Yeah, we didn't hit our targets. We're behind and whatnot." They basically killed the season off before they even showed anyone the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Zach Brown is taking McLaren further down the rabbit hole than they
That's
need
why I
to do.
thought maybe they're joking. Because I thought
No.
there's no way.
No, they're not.
Any team principal who's thinking of actually signing up, getting a Red Bull Ford powertrain in 2026, I don't take him as a serious person. He's a problem. He's a
Yeah,
problem.
he's a
I
problem.
think McLaren. We talked about this. Was it yesterday?
Yeah, it
Kingston?
was yesterday.
McLaren needs Ron Dennis.
You need someone else, yeah. I think that conversation will
Zach
start
Brown
some.
is not. Zach Brown has stretched McLaren too thin. They're in everything now. Formula E, IndyCar, Extreme E,
Everywhere.
eSport. They're in everything now. He stretched them too thin. And I'm thinking if they're going to look to get one of these Red Bull Ford powertrains in 2026, I've always wondered why, because they've got an established road car division, why they've never teamed up with the company that makes the engines for their road cars.
It has nothing to do with the engine. It's just the concept of their car, like the aero.
No. I know that, but what I'm talking about the Zach Brown admitted that he went to see Red Bull powertrains division because it's clear that he's thinking about
that
becoming a
powertrain,
customer
yeah.
team.
Mm-hmm.
And so my thing is, why has McLaren never considered actually doing it on their own? Because they already had an established
Road car, yeah.
division. Why not work with the company that builds the engines for their cars and do their own thing? Because Ron Dennis said it, you're not going to win a Formula One championship being a customer team. They lost that Honda deal because of Alonso, right?
Yeah.
And what's the chances? And it doesn't look like they'll get that opportunity again because Honda has registered that to become interested to be a supplier for 2026. And in saying that, Porsche's out there.
Yeah.
Why are you looking to? But then again, Porsche is a competitor to McLaren
road division, yeah.
So I guess I can see why that probably isn't a good link up. But even so, what's going on with McLaren? They've been going backwards since 2012.
Since Lewis left, they've been going backward every year.
This should be a sign to Mercedes. They should be careful.
Yeah.
You got to feel for Lando when that contract as well, innit? Because it just doesn't seem to get any better.
Lauren, how many times have I come on here and said him signing that contract was a dumbass move? It was a stupid move. He should.
How long did he sign for?
He signed. I think he signed up until 2025.
2025, yeah.
Jeez.
It was a stupid move because he could have sat down and waited to see what Lewis was going to do. Because look, this is the last year of Lewis's contract. And if Lewis had said, look, I'm going to call it a day at the end of this year, he would have been in prime position to get that seat at Mercedes. No, he's not. Because Mercedes aren't going to buy him out. If Lewis were to have left at the end of this year, Mercedes weren't going to buy him out of that contract.
It's too expensive.
It's exactly. You're talking about it could, if you want to buy him out, it could cost them 80 million. Yeah. That's just that's just to buy him out, and then you have to factor in you're gonna have to pay his salary. Yeah. So you're talking about it could cost them upwards of
100 million plus. They are not going
to. Sorry, Thanos. Who are we talking about?
Lando Norris.
Okay.
He should have never renewed that contract with McLaren so soon, because he renewed in what, 2021?
Yeah.
He still had time. He still
There
had
was no
another 2
pressure
years
on
left on the
him. There,
deal.
it wasn't
There was
as
no
if there was a
pressure on him.
pressure on him, or they were going to lose. They want to go fire him.
Seat, he had the most secure
Secure
seat.
seat in F1.
He
Yeah.
had one of the most secure
Yeah.
seats on the grid.
Yeah.
There was no one challenging out there that McLaren was thinking, okay, we're going to we can potentially replace Lando with this guy. No. And at that time, he was beating the pants off Ricciardo as well. So why do it?
Yeah. I think whoever was advising him didn't do that well, because
And
he
he also said he had option. Red Bull came in for him.
Yeah.
And he turned them down.
But I always felt like
this
Zach must have really promised him something that he's clearly not
fool's
able
gold.
to deliver.
What?
Zach sold him
It's a fool's gold. Yeah, that's it. It's a fool's gold, because there was nothing.
Because McLaren has shown nothing for you to think that this team is on the up and up. In the next 2-3 years, by 2025, they're going to be in a position where I'm going to be able to compete consistently for wins and championships.
Okay.
It just doesn't make any sense. And he himself now, it's just like...
Yeah, he's in the... He said he's patient with McLaren rebuilding or something to that effect, which is crazy stuff, because how long is it?
And here's another thing he's going to face, because Charles' contract is up in 2025.
Oh, yeah.
2025 is the last year of Charles' contract. So if I think we all somewhat agree that this will be Lewis's last contract.
I believe so too.
So come the end of 2025, that's it. So there's going to be a seat available at Mercedes. It's not going to go to Mick Schumacher, because they don't even try to say anything about that.
We already had this conversation.
It's not going to go to Mick. So you're talking about so now Lando could find himself competing with Charles to get the Mercedes seat, and if anybody's going to get that seat, it's going to be Charles.
Yeah, if the competition comes between both of them, Charles is getting it. Yeah.
You know what? If Ferrari give him a championship-winning car, like is capable, and he keeps putting it in the wall or spinning, or he can't convert his poles, it might not be such an easy lick for him. But it might actually go to Lando. You never know.
True. Yeah. And as I said, one of two things is going to happen between Charles and Ferrari. It's who's going to get fed up first.
Yeah.
That's what we need to look at. Who's going to get fed up first? Because if Ferrari can't give him a car to win championship, and if Mercedes turns this tugboat around and go from a tugboat to one of those speed races, and George now has a car where he can actually win races and championship, Charles is going to be looking at that like, I wasted all my time at this team.
Did you just call the W14 a tugboat?
You know what I mean? Yes, tugboat. Call it a tugboat. I call it whatever I want. It's a tugboat.
Time out.
But you know what I mean?
Time out.
But you know what I mean? But so Charles is going to be looking at that and thinking, well, you guys have been here and I've been loyal, I've been committed, but you can't give me what I want. Why stay?
Like I said, yes.
And at the same time,
he has that in him.
But on the flip side of that is, if Ferrari gives him a car to win, and he keeps making these bonehead mistakes like we saw in
Baku,
in Imola, and we saw in
Baku,
France,
yeah, we saw it in Baku,
and all of those places. If he keeps making those, Ferrari are going to look at him and like, well, we've given you the car, but you can't seem to get the job done. We're going to move on from you.
Yeah.
So this is the quandary between the two. Who is going to get fed up first?
I hope he succeeds at Ferrari.
Look, I want him to go somewhere where he can win, because I like Charles.
Yeah,
I think
I like
Charles
him. He's level-headed.
He's a talent.
Yeah.
He
has raw speed.
Over a lap. I think right now over a lap he's the quickest thing on the grid. Over a lap.
No. I still think it's Lewis.
No. Sorry. You
can't convince me otherwise. I still think it's Lewis.
I think over a lap, Charles is probably the quickest thing on the grid.
No. We can't disagree on that one.
Well, It's just one of them things.
Yeah.
Okay. Who have I got? Oh God. I've got Sean C and Vims coming back in the room. I'm gonna give these guys. I just let Sean C and Vims, and you guys can have the last say. And I think I'm gonna call it a night. You guys want to say something? If not, I'm gonna end the space now. I'm tired.
Oh, I had a question. Why is Mick being like plastered everywhere? Like I see him every single day. Like, is that what's gonna happen for 23 races? Like, why are they bringing him everywhere?
Well, I mean, what's are they gonna do with him?
I mean, like, I've never seen like a reserve driver being like shown off so much. I'm like, I don't hate Mick, but like, if I keep on seeing him for 23 races, I might start hating him.
Well, I mean, he's new to the team, so I guess it's a matter of just like bringing him into the fold, let him understand, show him the culture of the team and how they operate.
He's
So
just
I
telling
guess
us, look at me now. He's just showing himself in their faces.
what's that?
The fan base, though.
Yeah.
Mick comes with the fan
Yeah.
base, and the Schumacher kind of the tailcoats of Schumacher fan base. So there's the endorsement of that. So that plays to Mercedes' favor. So it's not. It works to their favor to promote him as
Yeah,
well.
give him visibility. Yeah, you're right. Basically, let's just put him there.
Okay, cool. All right, that answer your question, Vims?
Yeah.
You happy with that? Okay, cool. Anyone else got anything they want to say before? If not, I'm going to call it a night. I don't know if I'm going to be on tomorrow because I'm supposed to be doing something tomorrow, so I don't know. I probably won't get to watch testing, so
What?
I
We're
don't know.
setting purple sector tomorrow. You're not watching?
I'll keep you guys will keep me abreast on the timeline.
Okay.
But I'm not have something I have to
All
do. I
right,
have to
that's
go and
okay.
help
Yeah,
a friend of mine do something
Okay.
tomorrow. So I don't know, but I'll see still. But anyway, guys, as always, it was lovely. You know, what do you call it?
Entertaining.
What kind of entertaining? Got heated a bit. Again, Sarah,
I would say
Bonita,
we were
wasn't personal.
passionate about
And please,
our team.
yeah, it was just
We're just showing passion.
passion. So it's understandable. But anyway, guys, like I always say, wherever you are in the world, stay safe, be good. Don't do the things I do because I will get in trouble. You might, and I'm not going to take responsibility for it. So we catch up again on the rebound, and we're out.
It's okay.